Hello, all you lovely people. Just quickly before we get into this awesome episode with Cut Your Wolf Loose, I just want to quickly apologise because for the first 15 minutes or so, I forgot to press the record button on the mics. However, the cameras were still rolling. We're going to take some sound from one of the cameras. It's not going to be the best, so I do apologise. However, after that, you got an hour and 45 minutes of crisp, clean audio. Listen, we're nearly 60 episodes in. I was bound to cock up at some point. Please forgive me and enjoy this episode.
Welcome back to another episode of Uncut and Unfiltered. Today, Ian has finally hit puberty. He's got a beard. No, I'm only joking. Seb, you are joining us today from Cut Your Wolf Loose. It's great to have another bearded gent in the room. Obviously, Ian can join us. I think he will be gutted that he's not here, but thank you very, very much for coming along.
Cheers for having me.
Stevie, you excited today?
I am, mate, yes.
This is a brand that you and I have been, well, I mean, I've known it, a long time. I've known it since Seb set it up, really, but you've been keeping a close eye online.
I have. Shamefully, I've never tried anything.
Never tried anything, right. In fairness, I've only tried one or two in passing, so it will be great to get involved today.
I think there's enough.
There is definitely enough. And God, they really stand out on the shelf there. There is, it's incredible that it's all one brand. And you can see it's all one brand by the way the labels are set out. But I really love what you're doing with the artwork here, Seb. Explain just very quickly to us. I want to get involved in you and your story before we dive too much into this brand. But these are all different artists doing different labels for you.
Yeah, exactly. So the premise of this was to work with artists locally in Brighton and in the UK, and oddly now some overseas. But it was to work with them. They would design something which may or may not have any relevance whatsoever, but it kind of showcases their kind of vibe, and they would create a label. We would then use that. We then have, in order to support them as well, we get prints done. So we get the number of the shop is 23. We get 23 prints done. They sign one of the bottles. I mean, this one here, for example, they sign a bottle, they sign the print, and then they get, you can take that as well. So
awesome.
It's very, very cool. In the shop, and if you come into the shop, we've got a small rear yard, and in the rear yard, they also paint a 25-foot, 30-foot wall with the image.
So huge mural.
Oh, shit.
That's awesome.
Wow.
So that changes every time we get another artist in. So we've had some amazing, and you also meet some amazing people. So that's the cool thing.
Definitely.
And then they put you onto someone else, and then so it's quite a cool community.
A bit of a collective vibe by the sounds of it. You want to get more people involved, showcasing, as you say, different art. I mean, the beauty being an independent bottler, as you fully well know, we're kind of showcasing other people's art within the whiskey. It's all these different distilleries making these drams. We get to bottle them under our labels, which we're, I'm sure you feel just the same as me, very privileged to be able to do so, right?
Yeah, it's super cool. I think the fun part about it is that, I think I've said it for years and years and years, is trying to encourage a new drinker into the sector. And, when I started this 10 years plus ago, 15 years ago, it was, my whole mission was to kind of bring a younger generation into the drinking of whiskey, because it was just an aging population. And I think there was just a bit of a danger that it would just kind of disappear. And this still continues with that. So, I think it attracts both, collectors who like or have an interest in the art, but also I think a younger generation of individuals who have got kind of like, okay, that looks cool. I think, the first thing when you go into a shop is you kind of like, that looks cool. Then you go pick it up. I don't know, I'm like that, but I think a lot of
you definitely
people like that.
with your eyes.
With your eyes, exactly. Yeah. And then, it's a kind of a double bonus, the fact that the whiskey on the inside is also awesome. So it kind of just helps people. And the concept there is that everything's different, and it just means that if you do have a kind of a home bar, or you kind of want a different drink each time, you can. And it's, we only do 4 a year, so for here. So it's kind of...
only 4 expressions a year?
Yeah, only four a year, yeah.
Wow, okay.
Logistically, it's a nightmare having artists trying to continue doing the wall. So that's super hard to kind of get done. But also, it's quite a relaxed environment doing it. It's not like other brands where we're kind of like trying to do 20 or whatever it is, 20 or 30 at a hit, so we only do 4 a year, and it just keeps it really, really simple. The ones that cut the leftovers loose, it's kind of like bin ends in wine, but we can do that if we have some experiment that we've got that isn't working or might be working that we kind of want to test out, we'll stick it into that. So we might do a few extra bits, but we don't change the artworks or anything like this. It's just a standard label.
Okay.
So yeah.
Cool.
So yeah.
Well, look, I want to dive into it a little bit more. Where should we start? You've got some seriously peaty drams here. Let's start with something a little bit lighter. What would you recommend as a first dram?
So I think maybe we can start with a blend.
Cool.
We've got.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Then that gives you guys an insight. This was the first blend that we created. So again, not purchased blend, actually created by ourselves. So it just gives.
I was going to ask, so...
Are you able to disclose what's in the blend?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Fantastic. Good. I love actually being able to speak where we've talked about this many times, where you get a blend and it's something that's been blended in cask from birth, and it's kind of like, okay, this is really good, but it doesn't help me because I can't now say, okay, well, there's X, Y, and Z in it. I'm going to go and try that, or even make my own blend at home with those OBs or whatever it may be. It's great to understand. So what has gone into this?
So this is a blend. We've had to name it 6 years old.
Okay.
It is Glenglassau 2017. We've got some Kalila. Interestingly, the remaining amount of the Kalila that went into that is here. So it is a 16-year-old Kalila.
Okay.
So we used the remaining to just pop into something else. The strength on this, I will let you know, is 51.6. So with the young whiskies that went in there, they were actually pretty hot. And what's interesting is this one sat at cask strength of 42.4. So it actually
that's dropped a lot.
Pulled it down.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So it's great. So we've got Kalila, Glenglassau, Bowmore, and a bit of Highland Park in there as well.
Do you know how old the Highland Park was?
Highland Park is 2017, 2016. Right. Yeah. Sorry for memory. Yeah. So it basically it was trying, and that was actually created over a couple of years. So it wasn't let's blend it all together and then just leave and then just kind of have it there. It was effectively put into a sherry butt,
married together,
and then just married together over a bit of time.
Cool.
Just to kind of give that flavour. Carl Cashman's a really cool guy. He did the label on this, and he does these kind of really trippy designs on those. But yeah, it's.
You can tell that the liquid has been married really nicely together. I do sometimes feel with blends, it can be a little bit disjointed. There's different elements that are kind of poking out in different ways. This is really, really. I tell you what's surprising to me is. It doesn't smell overly peated on the nose. It's really quite gentle and kind of a little bit biscuity and
considering
sweet.
You've got that sort of Kalila in there, however, it being
Kalila and Highland Park, it's really
you can probably understand the Highland Park, but the Kalila, how old is it? Sorry,
16.
Oh, 16. Okay, so yeah, no, it's not as old as I thought it was. So it still would be quite punchy on the peat.
But I love that you've put 16-plus-year-old stock in this and still put it as a 6-year. This is the thing. It's about creating something.
It's 50 quid on the shelf.
Wow, really cool.
Yeah,
really,
so
really
like
cool.
it's for us. It's great. You can introduce people to a blend that, I think most people think blends are. They've got this bit of a stigma attached to blends, and they prefer to get a single malt. But I think you can get some amazing blends out there, and I've had some amazing blends. And the question is, how do you get it so that the price kind of works with, the product that's in the bottle? I think 50 for this one works really, really well, but also knowing what's gone into it, it's very difficult because, for someone who doesn't know the brand, doesn't know what we do in terms of, bottling the single casks and also some blends.
Yeah.
You say, oh, we've got this blend at 50. So, I'll just go and grab a Johnny Walker at 20. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's where the comparison sits until you actually sit down and have a conversation and go, actually, we've done this, and this. Yeah. This is the time it's taken to do that. Suddenly it goes, oh, okay, actually, there's sort of more of a curated value in what it is. But yeah, it's it works really well. And actually, a lot of people like it. And it was the first one that we did. So it was just quite a nice thing. And I thought it was a good starter.
No, absolutely. Yeah. No, it's lovely, really.
So blended malt, collective cask strength?
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, what pulled it down slightly was the lower cask strength of the Kalila.
Which has dropped quite a lot in 16 years, right?
Yeah, huge amount. So couldn't find any issues with the cask on it and the wood on it. So I don't quite understand what happened to that. And again, it was just an oddity in a bunch of casks that we've got. So it was just kind of looking at it thinking, well, no idea. So thought, right, we'll just use that and we'll try and work out what to use it for. We didn't really want to put out a lower strength Caolila into the market to kind of direct compete with, Diageo own lines and various others, because there's a lot of Caolila that's in the market as well.
Loads, yeah.
So it was just, we'll get some into the blend, and then the rest we will just kind of bottle up. And it's not, I can't remember how much I think it's 60 quid or 55 quid or something for the actual 16-year-old Caolila anyway. So
right, okay,
it's
very accessible.
Yeah, how long was it in the Oloroso butt for?
2 years. So basically, it was just effectively topping up each time with a new with a new entity. So it wasn't we'll use.
You didn't blend and then chuck it all in and leave it.
No.
Just kept.
Exactly.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
So when we felt that there was something that we would work with or would work well within it, we would then put it in. So basically, over time. So rather than
That's an interesting way of doing it. I didn't really think it's like a big infinity sort of card.
Yeah, exactly. That's
Until
it.
It's like.
But also knowing the flavours, it's kind of strange because, the amount of cask samples that you try, across, it's just insane that you kind of, in your head, you kind of create this sort of mental picture of what something tastes like. And then, you get it from when you're trying any single whiskey, whatever it might be. I think a lot of people probably have significantly more knowledge in the whiskies and the histories and all of those and the actual manufacture and making. But I think when you taste something, you kind of imprint this sort of flavour. So you immediately know as soon as you see something, I don't know, Balmanac, or if it's a Caolila or whatever it might be, you're like, okay, you kind of work back from where a bad taste or the worst is going to be. And then you kind of put it together and you're like, okay, well, if I put that with that flavour, I think that's going to work really, really well. You never really know, do you, until it kind of like comes out the other end. So that's
and you're leaving it to mature in the new cask as well. So it could do anything after.
Exactly. Yeah. I can't remember what the cask was filled with before. But anyway.
No, it's lovely.
Would you reckon, Stevie? It's good, right?
Yeah, it's really nice. It's got this really nice oak spice, and then you get that kind of sort of sweetness from the Oloroso at the back there.
Right, yeah.
For me.
I'm getting like ginger snap biscuits.
Nice. Yeah.
It's really interesting. It's cool though. It's very, very cool. So Seb, tell us a little bit about yourself. Obviously I've known you for a while now, but for anyone at home who maybe doesn't know you, you've got this incredible bar in Brighton. And guys, if you haven't checked it out, you've got to get down to Cut Your Wolf Loose. Obviously you've got all of these incredible whiskies, as well as an awful lot more on the shelves, right?
Yeah.
But you've been in the industry for a while. You were in the wine industry before. Just listening to you talk about the way you're making this, you've got a wealth of knowledge and experience. So just kind of in a quick summary for anyone who maybe doesn't know you, tell us a little bit about you and how you got into this.
So, so I worked in the wine industry prior to, worked in the wine industry. My business was within the wine industry. So we used to buy and import and distribute fine wines effectively. Used to go to Premier every single year in Bordeaux. So we used to taste every single new vintage of wine.
Awesome.
Which is great. What that does, it lays a foundation to your palate, I think. So you kind of have to understand what something might taste like in the future. So wine, obviously, when it's in a bottle, it's where it ages. It has 18 months, 2 years in a barrel. And that's it. So in some cases, some champagne, full maturation. But I think that lays a foundation to flavour, and it gave me an interest. I still am a big fan of wines and old vintage champagnes, which is great. My issue came when I was, again, seeing a marketplace. I think actually I went to, I'm not going to name the name of the old wine merchant in London, but there's a couple of old wine merchants in London, but I went to one of their kind of, annual tastings, and I walked in, and we're talking here 15 years ago, maybe longer than that, 20 years ago. And literally everybody was, proper old.
Right. Proper old. And well, to me, they were proper old.
Right.
And I was thinking, if this is what is going on now, unless this company, this business changes its mindset to try and encourage new people into the space, all that's going to happen, I think we sort of had a brief chat before camera on this, but if they don't change what happens, these customers are just not going to exist anymore. And so at that point I was thinking, it would be so good if we could actually maybe take some of these wines or maybe, try and encourage it. Unfortunately, they're so stuck in their ways, the chateau are so stuck in their ways. They won't change. This is what we do. And if you don't like it, you can go and buy something else, basically is the attitude. And so it was interesting that that was the case, but you build up a huge amount of contacts really in lots of wine merchants across Europe, across the Asia marketplaces and also the US, which gave me the opportunity to understand what else people were buying.
Right.
And so some of the sellers that we were buying also used to include old champagnes, but old whiskies, so old bottles of whiskey. For me, it wasn't about, oh, this is an old Macallan from the 60s, great. I really want to keep hold of this and hoard it. And, it was me, my margin was I'm buying it for this price, I can sell it at that price over there. So I was buying it. And then we're talking here, way before, the market for these collectible whiskies suddenly went through the roof. This is kind of purely, I bought all of this stuff for X amount of pounds, and I need to sell it at this. That's my business. That's all it is, commodities. And so that's what I was doing. And then had a customer who said, oh, can you find some liquid for me? Because I really want to buy it and I want to bottle it. And so at this point, I was thinking, well, we don't really know where to go for that. Now, I'm one of these individuals that if I don't know where to go, I'll probably harass as many people as possible. And normally in a good way, because I think, if I want to know something, I kind of want to go out of my way to find that bit of information out, you know, and if someone's got information, I'll sit and listen to that as well. So, there's no ego working here. It's that I appreciate that so many people have got bits of information and experiences that I just won't have or don't have. So in that scenario, we found a Glenglassaugh 40-year-old, which we bought. I committed. I had a confirmation that someone wanted to buy, which was great, and then we were just going to help bottle it, and that's how it was going to go. They ended up pulling out of the transaction, so I was stuck with this liquid, not knowing what to do with it. So thought, right, well, actually, simplest, it's not quite the simplest way, is to then bottle it up. But I ended up then speaking to a company called Stranger and Stranger. So they do they do compass box labels, they do all of these other things. And they're really cool guys there. They do some amazing stuff. And we had a chat and I said, look, I want to create this. They kind of unpicked my mind as to exactly how I wanted to do it. And then we created a brand off the back of it, which was, we then bottled it. And, that won master awards left, right and centre and stuff like this. And it made me realise actually what we can do is we can take spirit, and it kind of goes back to kind of like why it's fun to do. I could take this spirit and I could have it bottled and I could create a brand off the back of it and encourage different drinkers to it, versus if they were going to go and buy it from a distillery, which is not what I could do, with wine. And it was very frustrating that I couldn't do it with wine, because I still think there's a huge market for it. I don't understand why, some of these big chateaux won't allow you to take some of these great vintages, and just, if you did something very cool with them, and they, and they could work with artists, whatever it might be. So this was really cool. So kind of ended up going down that route and ended up bottling it. That had some success. We did a second bottling and then had some interesting conversations with the SWA, who I love, but with the SWA on the labelling and how we should be labelling, because I was basically pushing boundaries as to kind of how it should be. So these are, I think the Glenglassaugh was like 950 quid or something like this. And obviously their concern was that the box didn't have the all the information on, for example. Right. So you learn a lot. I didn't know anything about all of these processes. So I'm just basically doing stuff ad hoc in order to kind of do it. And then if someone pulls me up on it, I say, oh, okay, right, so this is how it should be done. Because no one was teaching me how to do it. I didn't have a reference guide suddenly flick through and go, oh, okay, well, I should do it like this, this, and this. So it was literally purely like that. And that halted, but in the same time then kind of ran into or started working with the Artful Dodger. So also working with creating the Artful Dodger brand. And again, the whole process behind that is and the thought process is that that we're thieves effectively going into the distilleries in Scotland and taking the best stock and effectively then giving it to the collective of drinkers. So it was trying to create, again, a community of drinkers. In 50 CLs, some people like 50, some people don't because they feel like they're getting cut short on it. But, the reality is that for us, it was fun what we were doing. And with Will, you've had him on the show. And basically,
check out the link below, guys. There's a great episode with Seb's colleague Will, who joined us at Clackman and actually shared a load of Artful Dodger stuff. So that was really, really cool. Yeah, sorry, continue.
No. So basically, kind of then ran into that space, and I think that enabled us to kind of open the doors to lots of other different things. I mean, prior to that, it was then trying to get the access to the spirit and try and work out what we were going to do on that, and it was again, it was graft. It was trying to speak to as many people as possible, getting recommendations, getting kind of people who we knew in the industry and it was the wine and spirits industry combined. We were at lots of shows. We were trying to speak to as many people as possible in order to get, access to spirit. And it's still the same today. It's hard. It's hard to know who it is that you can buy stocks from. But back then it was, I've always had a long-term plan. This isn't short-termism. It's about, I remember, going to one of my first meetings and, pretty naive. Some funny stories, but this one was interesting. I kind of went in and there was a huge boardroom table, and I'm kind of walk in and there's just me and this other guy at the other end, and then starts talking about how many years in advance they plan on all their bottlings, and I was thinking, Jesus, this is like, I knew it was long term, but I didn't realize it was that long term. And, this whole process. And actually that kind of opened my eyes to kind of how I should be planning, and we're talking here 10 years ago. Planning for the future and planning. So for any extra funds that we get into the company, it always went back into stock. So always went back into stock to make sure that today we've got enough spirit where we can kind of mix things up and we can do things that we've always wanted to do. But that kind of enabled Artful Dodger, because we can just go into that and go, right, okay, well, we'll do that, or we'll bottle that, or we'll kind of look at that, or we'll re-rack that, or we'll have some fun and you do those sorts of things. But that's interesting, that brand, and that's worked really well. And, we've got lots of bottlings coming out for that this year, which would be awesome. And that kind of then, this is a really condensed story, by the way. There's lots of other kind of madness that occurred in the middle of it.
No, for sure. Keep going.
And then in 2019, felt that I wanted to sort of experience. I've worked in bars in the past, and not the kind of bars that we see today where everybody's making, really professional cocktails. We're talking here bars where it was like 5 people deep and you're free pouring all this like liquid into and saying that it's a, sex on the beach type thing, which, back in, the early 2000s was kind of what people were kind of like into. They weren't into kind of like, sitting down and having, specialist, sure. So I kind of wanted to understand. I wanted to basically be able to take spirit from distilleries straight to people's mouths. And, aside from obviously creating brands where you have got the companies that you work with who do the distributions across, whether it's the UK or Europe or, which are great. And it's a great community of, shops and bars, restaurants, those sorts of things. But I think I wanted to try and kind of experiment and see what it would like to be at the consumer end of the marketplace, because I think you can see trends better and see what people want better. So bought a building in the centre of Brighton, which is Cut Your Wall Flues, and that gave me one hell of a headache for the best part of.
I mean, you bought it at, unfortunately, not your fault, but the wrong time, wasn't it, with COVID? I mean, did that cause you some serious issues? Or?
Yeah, COVID caused some pretty mega issues.
Nice spanner in the work, brand new business. Sorry, you can't do anything with it.
Yeah, so we when I bought it, it was basically a bit of it was a strange thing, because about a year before, I put an offer in on that building. It used to be an old kind of can off license. A guy called Steve used to own it, and he was one of the first individuals, interestingly, to bring kind of the craft beer scene to Brighton. So he was known for that. So and he wanted to sell his entire business, all his stock and everything. And I just didn't want to deal with all of that stuff. I put in an offer a year prior to that, and he rejected it, and he sold it to somebody else for a lot more. And I don't know. Annually, I try and go through all emails. I go basically in case it's something that I've missed, or I can reconnect with people who I think we could do something with and have some fun doing bits and pieces with. And I went through and I came across the email I got from the agent who was acting for that a year prior to that. And I just pinged a quick message out saying, "Oh, how did it go? Did Steve get it sold? Because I haven't seen anything happen, in the town." And she said, "It's literally just fallen through today." Literally as I'd done that.
That's gas.
Yeah. So,
timing.
So, well, I think, I don't know, I quite believe in those sorts of things,
Meant to be, sort of.
Yeah. So I she goes, do you want to see it again? And I said, well, I'll just put in another offer. So I put in a lower offer, and he went, yeah, I'll take it.
Just get it done.
Just get it done. So we got it done. I mean, to be fair, it took a long time to get done because you've got, again, I've never bought a commercial premises before. Right. So suddenly I'm dealing with, solicitors who are for my purchase, solicitors which are his sale. Then I've got, commercial solicitors acting for the bank. And I've got all this stuff going on. And I'm just like, I don't understand what any of this is, and learning these whole processes as I was going along. Anyway, finally got the keys. And then about 3 months later, COVID. So basically I had this building that needed all this work doing to it because it was a hellhole.
I remember speaking to you at the time. You were like, Jesus, there is just a mountain to climb.
It was insane. Basically ended up rebuilding the whole building from the basement up to the roof. Roof was fine, oddly, but basement right the way up. We split it. Steve used to have a little entrance to his flat, which was above, through the shop. Split it up, so there's kind of the two entities there. But the hardest part, I think, of that wasn't necessarily that because I had time to think about how the branding was. I mean, interestingly, actually, Cut Your Wolf Loose was. I got this sort of strange thing where if I get an idea at some 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll try and find the web address and I'll register it. It's kind of a weird. I wake up at random.
We've got a few of them ourselves, haven't we, Stevie?
So many domains.
Yeah, domains. Yeah, exactly.
It's like, this would be a fucking great.
This is brilliant. Oh wait, we've got a whole business to run and a podcast. Maybe we should slow the fuck down with that. Yeah, definitely.
But it's
worth doing though.
It is. Yes.
The creative juices flow, and this is the thing you can see. And sorry, Seb, I don't want to butt in there,
That's
but
all right.
You were talking about sort of where you started. Do you mind talking about the first brand, or do we not?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
So the first brand you created, as far as I'm aware, was Wolf Sung.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So the company name used to be Wolf Drinks is the main company, and it was Wolf Sung was the brand,
and it was kind of like you say Glenglass our 40-year-old, which I didn't know that one.
Yeah.
It was obviously before I knew you, but it was super, super premium. I remember trying one or two of those in your office one. My God, like this, this is an impressive lineup, Stevie. It was like the age of some of these things. I was just, how the fuck have you got your hands on this stuff?
Yeah.
And it was incredible. It was beautiful. But what's really interesting, and the reason that I bring it up is then you've gone from there to Artful Dodger, which is obviously still running. Is Wolf Sung still an entity? Still do
Wolf Drinks,
the occasional thing there?
We had a name change. So Wolf Drinks basically
but
is the business.
Branding.
No, it doesn't. No. So we decided to stop because I just didn't want to continue having fights on how I felt that I should present my brand.
Yeah.
It was illogical to me that someone would walk into a shop, pick up a £950 bottle and not know what they're buying.
Right.
And that was the purpose of it. So, when you buy something off a shelf, it has to clearly state what it is.
Yes.
And here I had, the reason being is that, so if you look at, the bottles that you've got there, that Red Breast, but they've got, I think it's a sticker, isn't it, on the box? So they've got a sticker
for sure
on the box, right? So for me, I didn't have any stickers on. It was a black ammunition case, basically, that you used to open up.
Did you see these? It felt like fucking luxury. It was like heavy.
It was super
like
cool.
you could do some damage with it. It was amazing.
And it just didn't. It just didn't have all the information on the front. If you opened it up, it then had a little booklet which then kind of ran through what was in the box, and then you had to take then this foam off the top section, and then you would then have the reveal of the bottle. And again, the information was actually on the side of the bottle, not on the front of the bottle. So there were a lot of things which I kind of get, as to why. But the reality is, in the super luxury realm, you're in a space where I don't think people would pick it up. If it was a 20 or 50 quid or 40 quid bottle of whiskey, that someone might mistakenly pick up and not understand what it is, I get, because they're probably more accessible. But I think not everyone's going to go in and buy, a £950 bottle of whiskey, which was a frustration for me. So we stopped that. Yeah.
No, but the interesting thing, and the reason that I bring it up, it was a beautiful brand, but what's been really cool for me watching you and your brands grow and develop and hearing you said at the beginning, my aim was to bring whiskey to the younger generation, to new people.
Yeah.
We don't want to market whiskey to a dying breed like so many distilleries and brands are doing still. You want to get new people involved, and it's a big part of what I try and do at the Whiskey Baron. And it's so clear that that's what you guys are doing, because you started with what was, and still is, a beautiful branding in Wolf Sung. But I understand why you've left that. It's interesting to hear those points. But then onto the Artful Dodger, it developed. And now with Cut Your Wolf Loose, it's like you've hit that bang on the fucking head. It's really, really cool. It's accessible. It's exciting. It's young. It's vibrant. You know, everyone that we talk to about your bar, it's like, fuck it, that's the place to go in Brighton, you know? And so you really managed to kind of hone down what you've been trying to achieve. And it's obviously now, you know, very much where you're at, you know, which is great to see, because I think, you know, same as us, you know, with the podcast, you're always developing ideas. And like you say, you're waking up in the middle of the night, oh, I could do that and I could do this. And maybe it's a whole new brand, or maybe it's a way to develop a brand you've already got. But it's just really wonderful to see what you have achieved and what you continue to achieve in this realm, because of everything that you've done thus far. This is what I'm most excited about. And again, we are kind of like the younger generation of whiskey, you know? And I think I think that says a lot, you know? You've got young people who wouldn't have drunk whiskey before, talking about this incredible bar in Brighton, talking about these exciting bottles.
And what better way to have a bar to, you know, sort of have that so accessible to everyone, you know?
Definitely.
Because as you say, like, online, maybe in a few shops, it's a bit difficult, but here at least people can come in and you can really talk about the liquids, make cocktails, you know, cater to everyone for it and get them interested and excited, you know.
I mean, it literally is. So one of the stipulations that kind of I threw into the licensing, which you know, we had some various issues with originally, but it was literally just to be whiskey. So the only product in there will be whiskey products or whiskey related products. So we don't have the gins, we don't have the vodkas. So any cocktail that is created off the back of that is all whiskey derived.
Right.
So it means that we're using the category as a whole and not just going, oh, well, you know, you can come in for a dram, but, you know, come in for a whiskey cocktail. I've always wanted to have whiskey cocktails. I don't like cocktails that taste too much of the spirit that's gone into them. You know, maybe that's just the way that I am, but, you know, because I'm drinking brown spirit a lot or trying brown spirit a lot, it's nice to have something that's different. It's like when you have a nice beer, it's nice to have something that's different to what you're kind of constantly dealing with. Yeah. So, you know, people can come into that space, and if the fear is, oh, I don't like whiskey, the first thing is I don't like whiskey, or the memory of why you don't like whiskey, it's normally having, you know, some
a really bolshy neat whiskey that was 50 odd percent. Yeah,
exactly.
definitely.
Yeah. So here they can, you know, come in and they can try drinks and actually go, okay, actually that's really nice, that's super refreshing, or that's really fruity, and the whiskey lends to it, but it doesn't overpower it. And I think that's what's cool about it. You know, it allows people to kind of, you know, experience things more. But, you know, the bar itself is, again, unique, is the fact that because we have all of the stocks aging through Wolf Drinks, you know, I can go in and dip into it. We've got a whole wall, which is maturation wall. So you can try cask samples of products. You know, we may bottle them, we might not bottle them, but it just allows people to see how things work. One of the best things I like about it is that, you know, during my time, you know, buying and selling spirits, there were a lot of companies that just wouldn't want to sell to me because I'd had to buy all this other stuff on top in order to get access to what they see as the premium everyone wants. Allocated amounts. Yeah. And I just always refuse outright. And I'd always get really angry at it. And then there's a few that I'm still angry with. You know, Daft Mill on allocation, for example, buy all of this other stuff to buy Daft Mill. I just don't understand it. If I own Daft Mill and that was my brand and people were doing that, I'd get super angry because if I were the other brands, I'd get super angry as well, because, you know, it means that someone's saying that Daft Mill is better than this. Well, you know, there's three of us here. We probably all got a very different view on what is better than the next thing. So it's crazy. But you know, they would all go, oh, you can't have this. And now they're like, oh, well, we really want to be in your bar. We really want to do this. We really want to do this. It's like, well, you know, this is what we're going to have to do now. And if you want to be here, this is what we're going to do. Oh, well, you know, and you get that same stupid like conversation back. And I'm like, well, fuck you. Yeah. And it's, you know, I want to explore and make sure that what we're doing is really, really good for the industry. And that's the purpose of it. I love the industry. I love the people in the industry. That's what kind of pulled me to it. You know, I've always loved that. And it's ever changing. So it's just trying to, maintain it basically.
And this is it. It's something that can be maintained. It's something, like you say, what you're doing is you're invigorating the industry. You're getting it more lively. I find it so interesting, obviously, the last few years, and it's kind of, again, a bit of a shame, arguably, that you've opened your bar in the last few years, where this real boom of kind of investing in whiskey.
Yeah.
And not just in the cask side of things, which we all know all too well, unfortunately, but in bottles, and people, this is on allocation, or this is actually, we're selling this at, we were at a show recently, they were selling Springbank 10 at a shop, like a legitimate shop, £110. And it's like, sorry, what the fuck? This is not what Springbank wanted. This is not how it works.
But if they didn't want that, they, we talk, maybe it's a bit on the cusp, but they did the same with there was a Ukraine release,
right,
which all the money was going to the charity for that, which I get. Brilliant. But put your price on it, like high.
Right.
People will buy it. All that money will then go to the charity. Don't stick 60 quid on it, and then suddenly everyone clambers for it, and then you just suddenly see people flipping it. Now, I don't...
But the flipping market and the secondary market I'll take, but what bothers me is industry people who are then taking advantage of this sort of thing. It really bothers me. And what's really interesting now, and I've no doubt that the market has changed in 2024. International markets have dropped. The consumption of whiskey generally has gone down. And I think actually what we've seen is the actual drinking of whiskey hasn't gone down, but the investment of whiskey has gone down. And so all of these companies and people who are relying on essentially untrustworthy businesses and businesses that are taking advantage of investors and pumping out these ridiculous things, they don't have the same market that they had.
Yeah.
You will continue to sell great liquid and put it in glass exactly where it's supposed to fucking be, and put it in front of consumers and get different people excited. And I have no doubt that you will continue for the next 5, 10, 20 years, as long as you fucking want to. And this is what's so exciting about what you're doing. People shoot themselves in their foot when they deal, and I would put myself in the same category. Obviously, I don't have a bar, don't have as many exciting brands as you, but at the Whiskey Baron, we are very set on getting good liquid into glass, getting people excited about it. And I think that, we've had people come back to us this year, suppliers who wouldn't have dealt with us before because they were selling casks to investment companies. And now, now we can sell it to you. And my attitude is kind of saying, well, okay, but let's make it actually work, because I've got a business to run here and I'm not trying to take the piss out of the end consumer. This has to be sustainable. It has to be something that can be maintained through, yes, good markets. It's great that whiskey has been booming, but let's get it booming from a consumption point of view, not from, I'm just buying this and it's sitting on my shelf and I'm not fucking touching it. This is what whiskey is for. And with that said, Seb, sorry, before we continue, what's next? Because I'm thirsty. That was really good. That was really good.
Try this. So this is the latest one. This is a Tomatin.
Okay.
As I said to you before.
This is potentially peated Tomatin. You think it's kind of the Kubokan liquid.
Yeah. So it's really strange because having tried multiple casks to then try this was interesting because
Thanks, dude.
That's all right.
Thank you very much. It's really light in colour. It's like straw.
Skeleton Cardboard as well. He's a super cool guy. He did the artwork on this.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. London-based artists.
And so, sorry, Seb, as well, one question that I had. Do you sell, do you distribute these elsewhere, or is it just through the bar?
So the only ones that are through the bar alone are the cut the leftover loose ones.
Right. You do get these out and about into a few different shops and places.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have got Tyndrum, for example, the Isle of Whiskey shop.
Cool.
We've got Master of Malt, and obviously CYWL loose.
Definitely. It's the main place to get it, guys. So you've got to head down to Brighton. Yeah. And I think, God...
And there's quite a few more, actually.
You couldn't have picked a better spot for Brighton. Is that somewhere that's always been quite special to you? You always sort of loved Brighton? Or?
So I moved there 11 years ago.
Okay.
And Brighton's interesting because it has a really eclectic mix of independent shops. And I think that's kind of what keeps Brighton working, although some successful, some not so successful, but it's just interesting to try and find a little niche within that marketplace that would allow us to exist. And I think, if you ever come into the shop, basically anyone can draw all over the walls, for example. You know,
Right.
it's you know, you can leave your mark in the space, and I think that is a very Brighton thing, dare I say it, to kind of work, but it kind of does, and the purpose of it is to feel like that, not to feel like the kind of traditional stuffy, you know.
Haven't you got like retro gaming consoles as well?
Yeah,
Is
you
that
can play.
guys-
You can play
so-
Street Fighter 2
Yeah.
and you know all the old game Earthworm gyms and stuff like this. Yeah. So yeah, we've got the old Mega Drive in the basement with a big screen and stuff. So you
Sounds
can.
like you just want people to be kind of comfortable and expressive and just, you know, have a bit of fun. Because you can find some bars, especially whiskey bars, that are very kind of sort of sit down. It feels quite uptight.
Yeah.
You know, you feel a bit out of place, maybe like us, you know.
And the guys that are working with me there, I mean, they love it as well, you know,
Yeah.
and they're extremely passionate about what they're doing. They love, you know, the whole creative element. I think, you know, there's lots of places in Brighton that can create cocktails, good cocktails. There's lots of places that are craft beer places, but it's about, I think, being part of a journey that is creating all these brands and working out how we can then collaborate with other brands and make things work in a far more interesting way. I think I find it very frustrating that brands don't choose to do that, because they're kind of very, again, this is how we have to do it, and it just, I don't know, it just bores me. And you know, we live once on this planet, so it's about trying to do as much as we can while we're still alive, right? I mean, it's like,
100%.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I love your approach. It's not to, you know, again, it's kind of similar to what we do here. It's kind of a little bit irreverent. We're not trying to take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah.
It's just for the enjoyment, the passion. And I think that's what really shines through with you. Just listening to you now even, but, you know, with your brands as well. It's refreshing, you know. It's young, it's vibrant, and I think you're, like I said earlier, you're really hitting the nail on the head. If what your aim is to do is to get new people involved, you're smashing it.
It works because, you know, we have ages that range from, you know, 18 to, you know, 70 plus in the shop.
Mm-hmm.
And what's amazing is that they're all chatting to one another. You know, they'll all sit down and everyone will chat to one another. You know, where I don't know where else, you know, that happens. You walk into bars in London these days and it's kind of like everyone's sectioned off in their own little spaces. No one, you know, I remember, you know, if you go to the old local pubs, you know, everyone would know everybody and it would be a nice place to be and you'd have a chat and talk through things.
You go there
you know?
any time of the day and
Yeah,
someone would be there that you
someone
know.
would be there that you know and you can have a chat, or if you didn't know anyone who was drinking in there, you could, you know, you knew the people working in there, and that's exactly what it should be, and that's exactly what it is. And it works, you know, really well. And as you're saying, if we don't have, we've got brands that come in and do all the tastings, but, you know, a lot of the people who now recognise people who are the brands and recognise, you know, some of the distilleries that have been down. So it's nice. It just means that actually it's the functionality of it is that it's kind of working. It's creating a little kind of nice little hub of space where people can kind of chill out and enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite cliche, but whiskey definitely brings people together. Like, you know, I found since I've been in the industry, you know, you can go to any whiskey bar, shop, have a good old chit chat, you know. Yeah, you don't find that elsewhere. This, by the way, is really yummy. I've seen this
Not your
on
standard
the
tomato.
socials, and a lot of people, you know, have been kind of raving about it. And when I saw it, I thought, oh, it's a bit light. It is a bit young. However, that's a very naive approach, but you do by your eyes and that sort of thing. But that's just lovely. I'm getting loads of lovely citrus pills and
Yeah, lemon peel definitely. It's kind of like a wood burner. It reminds me of the like the cast iron stoves that, you know, I've still got one in my family home, but like as a kid,
fresh pine and
really like beautiful wood smoke.
burning. Yeah.
It's a totally unusual thing. I mean, this is the thing, you know, we only do 4 a year, right? So it's not like, you know, we're smashing them out all the time. And it's not, you know, they can range in price. It's not like, you know, we'll try and go all expensive or all, you know, on the lower end. But it just shows that people can try different things. You tried two very different things so far, you know, and if you had those on your shelves with a bunch of other bits and pieces, it's great because it means that you've got a taste effectively for how you're feeling on any particular day. And I think that's the purpose of it, you know. Aside from them looking particularly cool when they're sat on a shelf, and they do, it's, you know, you can go, oh, you know, I'll have something a little bit peatier, you know, I'll try that.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I'll something a bit lighter. You know, that's why, you know, the Aberfeldy, I think that's absolutely amazing. It's young, but, you know, people think, oh, it's only 7, or like this, it's only 7 years old. Like, what's going on? This is mental. But actually, you know, again, you know, we've got the stocks to be able to try all these different things. And I'll be honest, some of the others were just not great and need a lot more time, or they need finishing in a certain way. But when you suddenly go, oh, okay, this is a bit more interesting, this one. And it's Moorish as well. I'm not drinking, obviously, I'm driving at the moment. But, you know, it's one of those Moorish drams that you could definitely open. And, you know, I think for me, I find that, you know, if I can find something that you open a bottle and then you can sit around with your mates and then that
keep
bottle's
going back to it.
Exactly, that bottle's gone by the end of your
and
you just chatted garbage for God knows how long, you know, and tried to change the world. That's
and
great.
This is cask strength, is it? You left.
Yeah, it's so this
50,
sits 59.4.
59.
Wow, that sits so well in the glass. Really. And sorry, how old is this, Seb? Again, like
7.
It doesn't matter, but yeah, interesting. Okay, so if I'm getting this really wonderful kind of juicy pear on it, it's really, really cool. And like you say, I think you could sit here for a while and probably end up discovering more and more and more out of it. The wood smoke is the first thing that smacked me in the face. The lemony peel. Definitely.
Lemon peel, orange peel.
But then I'm getting this really fresh, juicy pears now, particularly on the nose, a little bit on the palate. But it's really just wonderful.
Yeah, it's you know, trying to have conversations with people about it. And I think it's, you know, that perception, I can't remember how I think it's 60 quid. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, oh, well, is that, you know, it's only 7 and it's £60. And I'm thinking, well, I don't know.
It's nearly 60% alcohol for starters. So if you look at it from a duties and taxes point of view, like, you know, age isn't the thing that we should be looking at here. Strength should be the first thing if you're going to argue that point of, oh, well, is it worth the money, you know?
And also, trusting also who you're buying from. I think if people are kind of buying into brands now. So, you know, if people are aware that, oh, well, that brand is always putting out, you know, good whiskey, I think, you know, people should support that because we are independent businesses at the end of the day. You know, I don't, you know, we don't take funding from banks, or I don't take funding from banks, you know, or anything like this. So it's literally everything that we're putting into it is our own. And so, you know, if people help out and they go, oh, we love that, you know, and support doing it, or, you know, you can go and buy, you know, 0%, you know, gin for 50 quid these days. And it's like, well, you might as well just freaking
mass produced,
fill up a bottle of water.
Yeah.
So I just, that to me, I think it's kind of when suddenly the barrier of age shouldn't be there, you know, whether people are buying something at 3 years or 30 years. Okay, 30, you know, it's
something to take into account. But no, but I think I agree with you. I think it's interesting to know. I think it's good information. I do always want to understand how old something is, how strong something is, where it's from, what cask, because that will help me on my journey. But it's not something that I would go, oh, well, that's only burr, so I'm not gonna, you know, I'm not even gonna give it a chance. It's like, okay, so this is 7-year-old Tomatin. This is definitely peated. It's different to any independent Tomatin I've tried, you know. It's very interesting. It's different. It's light in color, but it's rich in flavor. There is so much going on here, you know. I'm getting this quite sort of, again, I said it's developing. I'm getting it's almost turning into like quite a fragrant, almost a little bit perfumed to, you know.
Sure.
There's a lot going on in this glass. It's really, really interesting. And at 59% fuck me, it sits in the glass very, very nicely, very well balanced.
And I don't know whether you do this, but for me, I never, whenever I'm doing a tasting, and whenever we're even, to be fair, when we pour any drams in the bar side of things, we don't necessarily go down the route of alcohol first.
Right.
We basically say just try it and let us know what you think. Specifically for our bottlings, I always find that if you can't really tell the alcohol strength from what you're drinking, to me, that is the sign of a particularly good cask.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's the alcohol strength is completely kind of blurred. You know, you don't have that kind of a horrible heat that's going on. You've got a bit of heat, but then, you know, you run into the rest of it. And I think you can sort of tell. And that's why, you know, you try some independently bottled whiskies where they've kind of just bottled based on name or bottled based on what they've kind of dumped it into for.
It's just hit 10 years old. Get it in the
yeah. And but you then try it and you're like, that is just not right. It's just not right. It doesn't taste right. And you know, it's like Kalila. There's like a 7 billion Kalila indies on the market or whatever it is, you know. And if we get the opportunity to try lots, we try and focus on independent bottlers in the shop. So we get to try loads, and some of them I've tried are just kind of that is just not right. And unfortunately, some of these indies have bought that stock at relatively high prices.
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
obviously,
yeah.
They've got to bottle it, right?
they've got to bottle it, and then when you're trying to then work out what the dram price is, when it sits on the shelf, suddenly it's sort of a couple of quid more than maybe another Kahlua, which is much nicer. And it could be a couple of years older. So it's really interesting. And that goes back to that kind of, retail and understanding what it is that people are buying in terms of the consumer. If people have got, we bottled a really, really nice Kahlua actually for Artful Dodger. And it's still to this day, it was a refill hoggy. And it's just, still to this day, one of the nicest Kahluas that I've come across in the Kahluas that we have. From all the samples that we've done. And I always use that as a comparison now, just to kind of work out where we are. And some hit the mark, but not quite. And that's just fresh. That wasn't even kind of doing anything. But it's just, you get people that come in and go, oh, Kahlua, we'll try. And you can do Kahlua flights as well. I mean, like for other people, it kind of blows their mind because for them, they can have, 3 or 4 12-year-old Kahluas from different independents.
They're vastly different.
They're all totally different.
Yeah.
And that's great because that's part of the educational side because they just think immediately, it's just peat and it's all of those sorts of things. So
yeah, we've just we're in the process of we'll be bottling a Kahlua later this year. We basically bought some butts and we split one of the butts between an Oloroso and a Palacatado hogshead, both fresh hogsheads. And like you said, I mean, it's the same liquid. It's been in the same cask for, I think, 10 years. And then it's been sitting in slightly different sherry, still sherry, but slightly different sherries for 2 years. And it's just, it's completely different. They really, I mean, as we were discussing with Arian and Petra, it's kind of two sides of the same coin, but they are still very different. And so, like you say, you start getting into different brands, different age statements, and a range of different cask varieties. I mean, and you can do that. And that's the beautiful thing about independent bottling. You can do that with pretty much any liquid, start really experimenting. So tell me then, what you're doing for a year, is that kind of, that's where it's at? You don't want to push this brand further than that because it's about the enjoyment and it's about the artist work and all of that side of things?
So we've been approached by a few, and we think it's a good idea. Other whiskey retailers in the UK and overseas who want to take, and it's the same for Artful Dodger, who want to take whole casks, so they'll have a whole bottling done. So if we're going to go down those sorts of routes with these lines, we will probably, again, work with another artist, but it will just be solely for that particular bottling. So it might be for, a retailer in the UK that might want to take an entire one, and that's the only place that you'll be able to get it, and that'll be the only artist on that particular label. It might be some in across Europe and other places. So yeah, we're kind of doing those sorts of things. Again, I don't know that I want to kind of go into this sort of mass market and start competing with, much bigger brands. I think as long as we can turn over, people are enjoying the process and working within what we're doing, and, everyone can, put some food on their table at the end of the night. I think that's kind of pretty much where we see kind of it moving. We were thinking about a blend, like a permanent blend. Okay. But again, it's sort of, I don't know that I want to compete with the big companies. It's like, it would just seem illogical for me to kind of do so. I think I could probably make a particularly good blend for those companies, and if they wanted to have a chat with me on it, that'd be great. But I think it's,
leave your email.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Description below.
Yeah. But I think trying to compete with them as an independent bottler from our perspective, it just wouldn't, I don't think, work. And I think it would be probably slightly dangerous as well, because what you're doing there is you're trying to create a market that already exists, and then compete in a market. So unless you've got enough people behind your brand, I mean, it's insane. I think, it's like all these YouTubers that have got millions of followers. I think they could probably create a blend, because they've got a ready market to sell it to.
Oh, and some of them do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, all the gins that are coming out and the rums and the vodkas and God knows what. So, I think they could do it really well. For us, grafting in the background of these, it's just a much harder prospect, and we don't have the funds that these big large companies have. to allocate.
Well, yeah, not only would you have to bottle a lot of whiskey, you'd then have to
Well, you'd be sourcing the liquid from your competition, because like us, unfortunately, you don't have a distillery. I'd love to see you with the distillery and what you'd end up doing, but like you say, you're essentially sourcing liquid from your competition to then try and beat them in flavour and price. And you can do one or the other, but you probably will struggle to do both consistently, year in, year out. So it's not an easy one to do. I am eyeing up that Aberfeldy. Partially, I'll be honest, because of the brand, but a lot because of that artwork. That is a fucking cool bit of artwork, man. Just everyone at home, this is a seagull with a baseball bat. He looks like a bit of a brute, and I absolutely love it. That's really, really cool.
So Tom Blackford is the artist there. He's from London. Really cool, really nice guy. He actually...
You got that, Stevie, yeah?
Yeah, man.
He actually helped...
Do you mind if I...
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you.
He designed the Cut Your Wolf Loose logo.
Oh, fantastic! I picked a good one to talk about then. Great.
Yeah. And then he did the little apple core as well there. Basically, he's very good at kind of deciphering what it was that I kind of wanted.
That was in your head.
It was in my head. Yeah.
That's so important.
And he kind of got it. And I think what's amazing when someone who's as gifted as he is in what he does, and he actually. He's super good if you have a look for what he does. He also creates comics as well. So, he's very, very good at what he does. So, and when we had that on the back wall in the rear yard, everybody was absolutely loving it. There's a few street art, really major street artists.
Yeah, just so.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise, no one will be able to see that. Yeah, it's cool. It's got a bit of attitude, you know.
Yeah. It was. I mean, it was massive. Imagine like that 25-foot seagull with a baseball bat.
Love it.
And if you look out from what is the ground floor of the shop, there's a huge picture window, so you can literally see straight out at it. So it's really cool. It frames all the image. Yeah. So.
And you can buy these prints. There are 23 prints of each of them.
There's only ever 23. Yeah.
And do you still have some of these left in stock, or do they?
We do have
out?
some. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I really,
he's gonna buy one.
Fucking collector, dude. I just hoard stuff. I don't need all of it as well. But you're the same. This is probably right up your street from you like your movie posters and that side of things.
Yeah.
This is the sort of thing I can imagine.
It's dangerous though, because when you
buy into a brand, and not only then are you buying the liquid, but you're then buying the prints, and you're chasing the signed things, and you're fucked. Oh, don't, man. Don't. That's where it becomes, disappointing.
Just go steal your wall. Like a Banksy piece, you know?
Stevie's just walking out with a massive fucking brick wall. Yeah, I don't think so, mate. Fair play.
It is, because they're all signed. So, like, the bottles get signed as well. So they kind of go hand in hand with the artwork. So if you want to keep those together, or you just drink the bottle, or... That's
the thing as well, is like... I'd want to keep the bottle sealed with the print and the sign, the signature and everything.
Yeah,
I'll send you a price list. Perfect.
You've got a captive audience here. Exactly.
Keep one sealed.
Definitely.
But and again, some people the artists are all kind of varying. So we've got Knowles from the Netherlands. You've got Hunto is London but Italian, really great guy. London. Mike Boyd used to be in London, a tattoo artist. He's now over in New York. Skeleton Cardboard is in London again. Postman, which is the wolf,
the very, very loud one. I like that. Yeah, it's
so cool. They do paste ups. They just recently did something for the Bob Marley Foundation, so they kind of did a huge thing for them and the family there. So it's kind of, you work with kind of people who are either just starting out, people who we think can work really, really well with what we're doing, or people who are like super established.
And how do you find them? Is that something? Do you go to them? Do they come to you? Like
they come to us, and I approach them as well. So and they love what we do. Yeah, there are. Yeah,
sending you artwork.
Yeah, and Brighton's really good for that. There's a lot of people.
Totally,
and they've even got kind of graffiti tours of Brighton and stuff like this going on. So you know, it's
there's some mad artwork on the buildings there.
yeah.
Are you artistic yourself at all, Seb? Would you give a whack at creating your own label, or is that not? You know, it's the sort of thing that I would dread. I love coming up with ideas, but then I've got a fantastic, like you say. For me, it's so important to have somebody that can get inside my head and take what I've got in my head and get it on paper. Without Perry, we wouldn't have a brand, quite simply. But is this the sort of thing where you maybe you'll have a bit of a crack, or is that not your remit?
I've never consistently kind of done drawing or painting or anything like this throughout my entire life. I think it's just I ended up focusing on other things. Now, I've got kids. I sit down at home and I muck around drawing with them, and it'd be fun to do something. But as I say, I don't have the ego enough for people to look at the artwork and go, oh, whoa, that is wicked, that's amazing. Quite frankly, I'd rather help other people, maybe access a marketplace that they hadn't accessed before, that have probably got a little bit of the same mindset, So, I'd rather go down those sorts of routes, to be fair. But never say never.
Fair enough. Okay, cool. So I like it.
See how it happened. But yeah, it's
So sorry, this 7-year-old Aberfeldy, this is just a refill hogshead, did you say?
Yeah, this is a refill.
It's quite spicy.
Yeah.
Quite surprisingly spicy, actually. You don't get that?
No.
Oh, yeah. No, I was expecting
It's very soft.
super light honey.
Very soft. Going back to your kind of pear note on the previous one, which I didn't quite get, this is like soft pears and cream, and
Okay.
there's a little spice in there, but not as spicy.
I get really
I think you're
beautiful oak spice, which is quite surprising. I wasn't expecting it.
What's the percentage here, Seb?
57.
57 again, so high again. Which,
yeah.
Considering as well, it's early in the day. You wouldn't think it.
No.
Yeah, no, the alcohol is really well integrated, but no, I get this. It's like oak spice, but it's almost verging on a bit of chili spice. It's it's quite interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I like it.
But it's just nice to be able to. That was the second one that we had done. So we'd gone from a Lafroig, in a sherry, to this, and I think maybe to some people it was a shock. The first one that we'd done, everyone was clambering to try and, like everyone does, for the first releases that you do, which is fine. But I think it was just a bit of a shock to them, the system, because it was like, well, yeah, it's a good whiskey, and it's the kind of extreme opposite, if you like, of what it is that you've just tried. So actually, if you're buying these and you enjoy what we're bottling, it allows people to have that extremity.
Yeah.
So, and it kind of works perfectly. So, and it's great, this one in cocktails, because it is light. There's a lot of sweetness that runs through it. So it kind of allows people to kind of do that as well. So
definitely.
Yeah.
And do you guys come up with your own cocktails in the bar, or do you follow kind of like a?
No. They're all completely tailored. So
all of them?
Literally every single one. I mean, there'll be if someone asks for something, we can traditionally make that, but it's the twist on.
Sorry, I'm laughing because Steph was there a few weeks ago and she asked for an old fashioned. They're like, well, we don't do it, but we will. Kind of thing, yeah. It's like
this is the thing, I suppose. If you don't have your vodkas and your gins and your other bits and pieces, you're making kind of renditions. I want a margarita. All right, mate. Well, we don't do tequila. Hold tight though, because we're going to do something special with whiskey.
Yeah.
It'll be similar, but it'll be different.
Yeah.
Is that kind of the vibe?
That is exactly it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. And that ever changes. So it just depends on. And we do bar takeovers as well. So we had Hideout Bar, takeover, and they came down to the bar and we did a collaboration with them, and place was packed, lots of cocktails done, and a lot of industry actually kind of running into the place, which is really good because again it kind of opens the doors to other people and understanding how the spirits can be used in that environment. So it's not just, as I say, sipping on the dram, but it's how it can be used in these various drinks. So it's really good. And then we're going to go to, I'm not going to go, but going to go to Hideout and do exactly that over there, do the same thing. And it kind of works really well. And it's normally sponsored by, so that was Speciality that sponsored, or they don't sponsor, they kind of use the spirits within it. So, which is great because again, that's opening the doors to liquid from different parts of the globe as well. So, whether it's their elements of Isla or whether it's, Kavlan, for example. So it's really good. And I think a lot of people just don't try all of these things. So even for the people who are coming in and trying the cocktails, they then see what the brand is and go, oh, okay, so I can use that. Oh, I recognise that. It might be a much larger, mass market brand, which we try and not do, but I think we like the independent, so Hideout, another independent whiskey shop and bar and stuff, and they take our range, every single time we do a bottling, they take it and they kind of do pourings and cocktails there. So yeah, it's
You
good.
do a lot of tastings as well, don't you?
Yeah, we do. Yeah. We try 2 a month.
Okay.
And again, that varies, and that can be, we just did an English one with the guys who set up the festivals up in Croydon, so which is great, ranging through lots of different, whether it's kind of independently owned distilleries, whether it's indie bottlers, whether it's some of the larger ones. So yeah, it's good fun. For us, it's nice, and it's quite interesting actually seeing who, like we've got hardcore individuals that come to all of them, but some are significantly busier than others, and I never kind of grasp why that
Can't
is.
gauge it.
No.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So I think maybe we need just more to occur. We've got some really good ones, coming up this year, but it was just, trying to understand like why people are coming to certain tastings. I just don't know. So you might have the English one that is packed out, and then you might have one that you think, oh well, this is one of this indie has got like this lineup is amazing that just doesn't have any, and you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Or conversely, it could be the other way around. You could have a really big brand that you would think would have quite a big following, has not that many keen on it. So, but we're a small space, so if you have 10 or 15 people at a tasting, it feels like it's a busy space, and that's the purpose of it. It's not, we wouldn't want 40 at a tasting. That'd be just crazy.
For sure.
And obviously Brighton's quite a young, hip, creative scene. Obviously you guys are there and you guys are doing great things, but is whiskey quite a big thing there with the community, with the people?
There are people who are interested, and across Sussex there seems to be as well.
Right.
So we have the Scotch Malt Whisky Society. They've hosted events at our venue.
Right.
And there just isn't a space. So we've now got that kind of space that people can use. So I think what we're doing is actually building a community versus I think there was just there were people dotted around.
Yeah.
So now it is building again. I mean, there used to be a kind of a whiskey club, which was for Sussex. Mm-hmm. But that kind of sort of disbanded. And I think people just, all these clubs, didn't they, at the start of COVID suddenly appear and then disappear when everyone realised they can actually.
Hardly any clubs in the southeast, really.
Yeah.
Like whiskey clubs. Going back to your point about Croydon Whiskey Festival, you guys were there as Artful Dodger, right?
Yeah,
This year?
and we were there with we did have Cut Your Wolf Loose, but we were the shop there. So we do all the retailing for all of the brands.
Cool.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about the festival. Like people that have been said, mate, Croydon. And you're like, okay.
It's a very cool, it's a very cool festival. It's nice because it's not huge. It's nice because there's a really nice vibe to it. And it's also really good value. If you're spending, I can't remember how much it was. It was, it was like 30 quid or 40 quid a ticket.
Yeah,
it's like literally nothing.
Yeah.
And you go around and we were there with Artful Dodger. We were there with the Cut Your Wolf Loose stuff. There were some other indie bottlers. There was some like Retribution were there, for example. So you could try some of their bits and pieces. As a collective group of brands, it was just really nice, and it was just good fun.
Well, again, there's no real festivals below kind of London, really, is there?
Well, we're looking at possible Brighton
as
a location, but I can't find yet a
venue.
The beach.
Now that would be a different vibe entirely. I'd like that. That would be fucking cool.
I found some open air spaces, which would be really cool. But again, I don't want to be reliant on weather.
Especially down there.
Yeah.
But
I've got an absolute vision as to what it can look like. But what I don't want it to be is to fall into the same category as to kind of how others are. I think that there could be a much better version created, and that's not because I feel I can do it better. I just think that there are add-ons and like environment that you can be in that can actually add to your experience. You know, don't get me wrong, I love the environments that go into halls and big spaces and stuff like this, but it's kind of a bit lifeless. You're there with your friends, but I think actually if you can add to the ambience and you can add to those spaces, I think you can absolutely kill it.
It's a whole experience, yeah.
And Brighton has got, you know, it has got festival season, so it's just when to put something on in Brighton. So you could actually tack it on to part of their festivals.
Yeah, get a whole new crowd along.
And make it really
footfall,
and make it really, really good. So, and I think it could work again really, really well. But there's just so much work going into it, or that would need to go into it.
Maybe work that you don't, extra work you don't need at the moment.
I really.
No, but keep plugging away. Don't tell me he doesn't need it. We want a Brighton festival, mate. Like, crack away, Seb. We'll support you.
There will be. There will be one. And it obviously won't be this year. Next year, maybe. It just depends. There's an interesting space that has just gone to a brewery just up the road from us, which I asked the agents multiple times because it would have been an amazing place for a distillery, but that's another story. But basically, it would have been, they've taken it over and it could be a really cool indoor venue, food market vibe is what they've kind of taken it on board as.
Okay.
So if we can, I'll speak to them and see if we can kind of work with them on something.
Fantastic.
That could be fun. Yeah.
What do you reckon of this then? I think I'm having a bit of a different experience. I'm getting the creaminess.
Yep.
I'm also getting these really wonderful like dried apricots.
Nice.
But the spiciness, those oak tannins are something that's quite present for me. Not for you?
No, yeah.
No, okay. Maybe I'm having a different experience entirely.
Did you eat any mints on the way here or like...
Did I have any mints on the way here?
Yeah.
No.
Because the spice isn't that strong, but that's the beautiful thing about...
Yeah, I'm getting quite... But
everyone's
the
different,
dried apricots really came through towards the end of that dram. Fucking wonderful.
I'm loving this. It's probably my favourite so far. Spoilers, but yeah, it's awesome.
It's cool.
It's a good one.
It's really nice.
I can imagine it in quite a few different cocktails.
Yeah, it's super simple to do. You know, I'm not one to create these things, but for the guys that are in the bar doing that side of things, it's super easy when you've got a spirit that's tastes like that. You know, you can just do quite a lot to it. You know, so
Definitely.
Works really well.
I'm really eyeing up that Ardbeg. I've been eyeing it up for fucking a while, to be honest with you, Seb. Like before you got here. I mean, is there anything else that we want to move on to before that, Stevie? I don't want to completely destroy our palates. If there's something else you would like to try, I've been kind of, can we pour this? Can we pour that? What would you like to try? Is there anything?
No, I agree. Like, listen, when it's not often you get to try a single cask
independently bottled Ardbeg.
Ardbeg, right?
That's named, you know. Yeah, sometimes you'll say, it's Secret Isla, and this is definitely Ardbeg. I mean, how long have you had this cask? Since birth?
No.
No, okay.
No. So we got the opportunity to buy it, and I just wanted to bottle. We've got a few more, which is interesting. But
any to share, or
I've
I'm going to ask, Graham. If I don't ask, I don't get.
That's the real reason we got you here, mate. Tap up your Ardbeg casks.
Fantastic.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, sorry, you've already mentioned the artist.
Renato Hunto is the artist for that.
Really.
He's the Italian guy.
Yeah, he's a super cool guy.
That's awesome.
I'm trying to remember where that is in retail. I think it's 200. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the age?
14.
Okay. Yeah.
14. Yeah. See, you can tell, mate. I've been looking at this for a minute.
Yeah. So Ardbeg. It's one of those weird things. It's like you can. There's the existence of the spirit. As you say, there's like a lot of the secret stuff that gets chucked around. But I find it quite frustrating because as a distillery, I think it could do a really good job if it actually just allowed, independent bottlers.
They brought their prices down. Sorry.
How much was their new?
110, 120.
They apparently had problems with people being able to buy it.
Yeah.
because the website was overrun. So we got emails saying, if you struggled to get it, don't worry, our website failed. And then like 4 days later, they're still sending out these emails, buy it now. So
And then there's ads going out now with that bottle.
I think, unfortunately,
hype
they
is
flopped a little bit on that one, which is sad to see. But yeah, look, I agree with you, Seb. I think that it is a super premium brand. It's really cool. It's really out there. It's very different. And like, you know, LVMH, they've got Ardbeg, they've got Glenmorangie, like it's two polar opposites. You know, it's really cool to see what they're doing. But
I mean,
I think that Ardbeg is something that would shine through, and no doubt it's about to, but in independent bottles, it can really get the younger crowd excited, people who wouldn't normally go that way, you know?
I mean, look at the brand. It's completely tailoring their marketing towards that, you know. It's a young, fun, hip theme park brand, as we've called it before.
Do you think that they're achieving it?
I think they are. I think the problem now is that. Well, I guess we're only sort of pointing the finger at one sort of. It's the committee releases here that I think, you know, they've just taken the piss a little bit on, and really the committee, those sort of hardcore followers, are the ones you want to keep happy
and get excited,
you
yeah.
know? And I know in the community of the Ardbeg sort of fans, especially in this last release and the one before, people haven't been as excited and been a bit like, listen, I'm sure Liquid's great, whatever, but we're not taking a punt on an on-age statement, you know, £120 bottle, probably just for the sake of marketing, really.
A lot of people have said that there have been too many of the same whiskies, essentially, bottled under different labels. I've really enjoyed, you know me, I've really enjoyed the Ardbeg committee releases over the last couple of years. The 8-year-old is something that really shined through for me. I know a lot of people didn't really enjoy it. I fucking loved it. I thought it was incredible. But yeah, I do appreciate the stance on it. I think that, yeah, getting younger people excited about it is great. If they're doing it from an artwork point of view, they're doing it from a branding point of view. But like you say, I think they've got to kind of figure out where their price
Where's
is.
the balance, yeah.
From a point of people want to buy it, to open it, to drink it, to enjoy it, to love it, build the brand.
Yes,
you
and
know?
I think in the beginning of those, I say the beginning of the committee releases, like probably 3 years ago, you saw them selling out those committee releases within an hour. And then the next week seeing hundreds of bottles of those releases on the auction sites and then flopping, you know, them not sort of doing a Springbank, which I think, and that's not Ardbeg's fault. I think Ardbeg maybe saw an opportunity there, like with the next few committee releases, like, oh, they fucking sold out in an hour, let's jump on this. But yeah, no, you're right. I think it's the balance. And listen, you know, I guess we're, you know, in the industry, and we're used to spending that sort of money on a bottle, but £110, £120 on a bottle for people getting into whiskey or have just got, it's a lot of money, you know, to take a punt on. But I do love the brand, you know, I just think they need to, as you say, figure that out there, you know. However, onto this.
It's fatty. It's rich. It's exactly what I was hoping it would be, to be honest with you, Seb. Bang. Absolutely spot on. 14 years. Sorry, what type of cask is this?
This is a sherry vat.
Exclusive maturation?
No, it's a refill, but yeah.
But sorry, you didn't re-rack it?
No.
No, okay, cool. So you got a good few bottles out of it then, no doubt.
Yeah, we got...
And for a refill butt, sometimes I
it?
see refill butt, you buy it from the industry and it's, oh God, that's
It's a
knackered.
good colour.
It's sherried, you know?
Yeah.
There is a sherry influence there. It's not overpowering, the distillate shines through, but it definitely adds to it.
Honey glazed ham, you know.
Right, okay, you sound like Ian. Yeah, fair. That's one of his favourites. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's very fatty. It's very rich.
Sorry, what was the percentage there, Seb?
This one is big. It's 63.8.
What?
No, it's not. No, come on. What? That's insane.
Yeah,
you can really go. I mean, there's nice nose prickle on it, but it's nothing that would even make you recoil. It's like, this is rich and full.
Not in the palate. On the palate, no. It's so well integrated.
Yeah, and on the palate, exactly. Yeah, you don't get that at all. The nose tells you this is a good, strong whiskey, but it's not like oh, Jesus, you know, it's like...
That's yummy. really yummy. You could.
I mean, we've got a few bottles
Have you,
available.
mate?
Yeah.
Does it
And
come with a-
signed ones with the
Yeah.
prints. Yeah.
There you go, mate. You got yourself in trouble now. Get your wallet out. Smash open that piggy
There
bank.
it is.
No, you could do some damage on that bottle in an evening.
Yeah.
It's
definitely.
really Moorish, this one.
Yeah. It is. It is delicious. Yeah.
And sorry, retail for this is
It is 200, I think it is.
200. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, IB Ardbeg.
I think it is. Let me just double check.
Yeah, fatty.
Yeah, I think it is too. Yeah.
Have you ever had an IB Ardbeg before?
Yes. Have I? I believe I have. I
Yeah,
can't
200.
remember what it was. Sorry, you may have said this. How did you get hold of this cask? If you want to say, or have you had it long, or?
No, not so long. Maybe a couple of years.
Oh,
Couple of
okay,
years.
so fairly recently. Yeah.
So Ardbeg, to be fair, I don't come across that often at all.
I mean, he does.
I had an Ardbeg 8 years ago. I've had a few Ardbegs, to be fair, but I've had the first one that I ever bought. I ended up using it to trade to get something else that I wanted. So, which now thinking about it, probably worked out better because I bottled something that I wanted to bottle, and I didn't grasp or understand why the value or why someone would want the Ardbeg so much from me versus what they were giving me in return. So
Do we know what you traded it for?
honestly, I cannot remember now for the life of me.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough.
So that was that. And yeah, I just don't come across it. I mean, I come across a lot of Isla Secret, not knowing what it is. To be fair, most of it's Kahlua, so it is not Ardbeg. So yeah, this was just an opportunity to kind of take something which was nice, and bottle it. As an independent bottler, it's quite interesting. So if there's something that I see is nice, we'll buy it. And then we will sample it. And if the quality's there, we'll bottle it. And it might be that we bought it, 6 months ago. But obviously, we've still got all of our aging stock that we can kind of look at and go, okay, most of it, there's already plans for in terms of how we're aging it or where we're putting it and stuff like this. So this one just happened to be, a nice one. And it was just a nice thing to put out in a bottle.
That's the thing I think people at home probably don't appreciate, especially where we're at, more so you two, is when you are sourcing liquid for bottlings, you don't always get the opportunity to sample it before you buy the cask. You kind of buy blind, right? It's a risk.
Yeah.
Most of the times it pays off. But yeah, that's quite an important thing to kind of know.
Well, most of the time it oddly doesn't. Like conversely, because that. Buying a few of those, it was good, but immediately that you could probably re-rack and get something really nice out of it. So,
yeah, for sure. I mean, with the likes of Ardbeg.
But when you're buying like volumes of other product, and you then go through sampling them, I mean, it's like, I went through, a bunch of samples the other day and I was just trying them and I was just like, what is wrong with all of this stuff? It was just not nice. So it's like, well, kind of how do we go about making it actually taste nice? Because if it's not tasting nice, then people aren't going to want to drink it anyway. So it's
and you've bought it now, so.
and it's bought on its own. So it's again, but these are the risks. You have to put capital into the space in order to kind of do that. Yeah, you're right. I think a lot of people don't realise that. It's like most people who have their they sort of ask the question, what is it you do? And you kind of I now kind of say I work in the alcohol trade. And I don't say what I fully do because then they say, if they normally that can like pass really quickly and it's like, great, cool. I don't need to kind of go into any more information. And then they say, what is it you actually do? Oh no, okay, well I buy liquids from distilleries.
Yeah.
And then they always finish it. Oh, well, that's a dream job.
Yeah.
I'm just like, well, yeah, I kind of created it for myself. So yeah, it is kind of a dream job. But the reality is that, if you go to work day to day, you're not having to commit your livelihood and life basically.
Well, that's the thing as well,
isn't
it? It's not. You're not talking a small amount of money either when you take a punt on things that you
I know.
don't get to try
And sometimes
beforehand.
a long time. It's not just the money, but it's the time commitment. As you've highlighted, if you buy something that's not really there, or even like you said earlier, that planning ahead, it's something that we've had to really start doing in the Whiskey Baron, and it's not easy. You're putting down huge tranches, huge amounts of capital and tranches of stock, and you're kind of like, that's for 5, decades, 10 years plus,
Yeah.
and you're not going to see it, but you've got to do it because otherwise you don't have a brand tomorrow. It's not easy, but at the same time, I don't know about you. You run a bar, you do so many other things as well. For me, I wouldn't change it for the world. I fucking love it. It's great. It's the struggle of that. As with any job, there's things that you're not going to enjoy. There's things that are going to be tough about it. But it's that versus listening to some absolute dildo who doesn't know what they're talking about telling me what to do. And that's the thing, I couldn't handle working for anyone else anymore. I could not handle it. I found a product that I'm passionate about, and I'm now able to bring it to market. And I think it's really wonderful for you, getting involved in the bar. You have that direct contact with the end consumer, and that must give you so much knowledge in how you're bottling different things, like you say, understanding the market kind of firsthand. It's something that we try and do, from going to tastings, going to events, and just talking to people and just literally like bothering people until they tell us more and more and more. But you've kind of got that captive audience that come in, day out, and are there. So it's great for you to have that.
You also get when you do a tasting or you're speaking to people, you forget, because you're always behind closed doors. You're never in the faces of people, right? And we briefly chatted about this at the start. It's only relatively recently since we've done kind of more kind of sort of video bits and pieces and stuff. Video? It's not video anymore, but whatever it is, yeah. Content. That's it. Yeah, content. But like
that's the buzzword of the day.
Yeah, but doing that, video. I don't think videos exist anymore, do they? Anyway, but fuck it. But you're not in front of people anymore. You're always in the background. You're always kind of like, going through all the time. You're doing all of this stuff. And then when it goes to market and then you actually speak to people about it, it's when you speak to those individuals who are, consuming it, and you realize actually that's the reason why, you were doing those things, and you get the feedbacks. Some people say, oh, I like that, or I don't like that. Okay, we can tweak that, as you say, and kind of make amendments going forward on new bottlings that we're doing, or new possible brand ideas as well.
Yeah.
So, it's great to be involved from literally distillery to consumer. I don't know that there's many businesses that are that in the independent space anyway. I think a lot of the bigger independents now are, more focused on their distilleries and what's going on for those than they are potentially about the indie bottlings that they have done or the stock that they've done. And I think the stock that they've got is probably an insurance policy against the distilleries that they own.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
It's kind of flipped slightly.
For sure.
Yeah.
What do you think of this, Stevie?
It's lovely, mate.
This is taking me back, and weirdly in a really nice way, but it's taking me back to school, which you don't normally think of as,
Will they give you Ardbeg at school today?
I know, I went to such a weird school. No, it's the smell of it, and I know this won't offend you. Some people, particularly new people to whiskey, oh my God, don't want to hear that sort of a tasting note. I used to have those blazers, and I cannot think of the type of material that the blazer was made of, but when they got wet, they kind of smell almost like wet dog. It wasn't necessarily like a nice smell, but it's something that it's like ingrained in my head, and it kind of reminds me of childhood, and it's this really interesting kind of off note, but it's really fucking wonderful.
There is a bit of funk.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. But that's kind of what it's linking me to. It's linking me to being a kid playing fucking, tip the can or rugby or whatever it was out in the field. It's raining.
Tip the can?
What did you 40-48 or whatever you call it here? You tip the can, we called it. Yeah. Okay. But like you're outside as a young kid in the field, and then you go back to class and you're kind of still a little bit out of breath, and it's that smell of my blazer. It's weird. I know that's such a weird tasting though, but
That
it is
the
really,
weirdest
it's
tasting I've
bringing
heard
me
you
back
say,
to being
it's
a kid.
your memory, so
And that's
yeah.
what the smell is. It's this wonderful, rich Ardbeg smoke, but there is that kind of weird off note in there, and I really love it. It reminds me of being a kid. And then on the palate, I'm getting this like thick plum sauce, you know, like really wonderful. And then, like I say, it's fatty. The fattiness is something I couldn't quite get over to
very
begin
oily,
with.
very fatty. Yeah,
I couldn't. That was all I had to say about it. Is fuck me, that's like a lot of fat and rich, and
It's the second time Seb's gone for a sniff now. I think we're making
you
him
thirsty, man. Yeah, for
It's
sure.
annoying, obviously, because driving.
For
but,
sure,
you
no,
know,
no.
Next time, then can join you. But
No, it's fucking lovely.
It's really cool. There's a lot going on here, and I could sit here all afternoon and just come up with more about this. That's so interesting. It's beautiful. This is my favorite thus far. Probably as well, partially, like I say, I've seen this. I've seen the label. The label's fucking awesome. I saw 14-year-old independently bottled Ardbeg. Bang. And sorry, remind me, what was the strength again?
63
I'm still
I don't
like
believe that, but-
bewildered by that. Yeah, if it wasn't written on the label, I'd say you're lying. Yeah, you're just trying to pull a fast one.
It goes
But
back
yeah,
to
no.
that, it's the strength shouldn't be. I think what's really interesting with the shop is that when you speak to people and then they see the strength, and immediately it's like, oh my god, that's mental. Because
Yeah.
I think in there, if you can imagine a consumer, the bulk of their time when they're buying stuff is going through supermarkets, right? So all they're looking at is like in their heads when they go down a spirit aisle. They're thinking tequila, mega high in strength, all these things which they kind of like maybe when they were younger were smashing back in bars and stuff like this, when tequila actually is 38, 40% in some instances, unless it's kind of like a higher.
Yeah.
But in most instances it's those. So when suddenly they see this stuff at like these higher strengths, they suddenly mind blown the fact that people are just sipping on it, and drinking it. Interestingly, when they try it, because if they've said, we'll try something a little bit smokier or whatever it might be, just try it. Suddenly it's like, oh, hang on, that alcohol, I can't taste it. Mm-hmm. And what I love about the fact that, and then sort of leading into that kind of runs into the fact that it's what the spirit was meant to be. That's the strength it was. That's how it was intended, and obviously then you can kind of like break it down into all the blends, but that's kind of its rarity. That's kind of like, stuck into some wood, aged for a bit, open it up, drink it, and it's great. It's just the simplicity of it I just love.
Absolutely, and it's testament to the spirit, right, as well.
Absolutely, yeah. I can't, I'd love to say that I created that, but I can't.
Yeah.
But what I can say is that I've taken what probably wasn't accessible, to make it accessible to people.
Absolutely,
so, and I think that's kind of like the key. I'd love to make a whiskey like that.
For sure. Sure, yeah, I didn't mean it like that. I just meant like the strength-wise
really
with
offended
Ardbeg,
me.
it's testament to their web policy, the spirit, it's fantastic. It's really fucking lovely.
Are you sure you don't have any more casks that you can share? This is really fucking good, man. This is
You can have some more if you
incredible.
want. Yeah.
How many
Really
bottles
good.
did you get out of this?
We got 274.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
274. Yeah, 274.
And you emptied the cask, or did you sort of put some aside, or?
I think I've put some aside, and I'm using the cask for something else.
Cool.
Oh, can we know? Is it unpeated spirit that's going to have this beautiful?
Yeah, it's an unpeated spirit that's gone into it. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So that's another thing, for all the things we want to kind of keep. I mean, it's part of keeping the environment healthy, but I think for us it's about reusing things that we believe can help add flavors to other things. So
Definitely.
and you do it, that's what we do, and it'll just the spirits that go into these types of casks come out with really interesting flavors. And also point of difference, don't get me wrong, I like some of the wine casks, but again, tasting a lot of whiskies that have been in wine casks, I just don't know why you would put stuff in wine unless it's a sweet wine.
Right.
High tannin liquid that is coming out after 18 months, 2 years in oak, then you've got your whiskey, which is pretty young anyway, tasting, grassy and kind of got that vibe to it, going straight into this kind of like high tannin environment. You're like, that just doesn't seem to sit well in my mind, because I know what it was like trying to try all these young wines, you know, for years, and you just literally after, you know, 3-4 days of doing that, your mouth is wrecked. So I don't know why people try and create that. I think that's why it's always a danger to kind of chuck stuff into wine, but sweet wine works really well. Dessert
So
wines
you
really
don't
well.
chuck anything or too much into red wine then?
No.
No, okay, interesting.
No, so sweet wine we will, sherries we will, dessert wines, yes, but not into red wine. No, I just don't. I don't grasp it. If I've bought stock that has had or have been in wine that I think is good, I will retain it.
As in whiskey that's been in a wine cask previously, and you want to use
that has fully matured in a wine.
Yeah.
Then I might keep it. If I've tried it and it is just not right, I will get rid of it immediately. So, you know, if I bought bits that were kind of older that have been in certain wine casks, it's not a problem. I might retain, but the majority I just get rid of, because I just don't like the taste of it. It just, you know, some people like that, you know, and I get it. Most it kind of affects the colour and it changes the colour. So, you know, people, oh, wow, that looks really good, you know. And actually, as a prime example, you know, Whiskey Broker did a release that was in a wine cask, and it was like purple, basically.
Yeah.
It was I think it was a Kalila. I can't remember, but we bought a couple because I wanted to. One, was fascinated by that, but two, it meant we could get them for the shop. But again, it goes back to, you can try Kalila in different guises, and this one was in a red wine, and it's just like super powerful, the wine, and it just doesn't work in terms of what it should do. I don't know, like sweet savoury is where I've always gone with whiskey. And if you can get a sweet savoury vibe in most of the things, I think most people can then argue amongst themselves as to what it is they like best about the particular liquid. So, you know, whether it's a wet jacket or whether it's the, you know, bits and pieces you're talking about. So yeah, it's I think that's kind of how it should be.
For sure. Well, it's your brand, so you know, should be bottling what you like, right? So
yeah, you get nervous as well because you don't know what other people are going to like. You know, so you're bottling what you like, but also you're trying to work out what other people might want to be buying to drink.
Yeah.
Which is also particularly difficult. You know, it must be a nightmare for distilleries where they've got to try and every single time they do a release, kind of somehow make something better.
For the mass market.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you can't. That's what it is. Just deal with what it is.
Yeah.
Rebrand yourself. None of them do, but like rebrand yourself in a fucking cool way and actually attract the right customer. Then that's how to do it. Not say that, oh, we've got like half a, you know, a sherry cask, half a, you know, 6 sherry casks, 6 friggin', you know, red wine casks and, you know, 6 bourbon casks, and we blended those together and suddenly it's now created the best thing on the planet. It's like, it's gimmicky and it's gamey, and I don't know that it's quite, you know, the direction. But and people see through that now, I think. I don't know.
I think that's kind of where Ardbeg has maybe flopped a little bit, because I think that's kind of, they've done some really cool artwork, but I don't think there's been for people on the back end. And this is the thing, I was one of the sort of really big supporters of what they were doing. Yeah. And now, yeah, it's kind of maybe not.
They will be noticing that. Not that it will affect them, because listen,
isn't he the wealthiest man on the planet?
He was at one for a minute. Bernard Arnault, isn't it? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do we have time for another?
Yeah. Sure. Which one?
Stevie, again, look, there are ones I'm
going to choose one.
Yeah, I'm going to say like the Tamdhu looks cool, the Bowmore looks cool.
These are the two. Oh no, what are the ones we can't?
Well, the ones that we've got open are the ones we've tried,
so
and then
you can't try the Ben Nevis.
Fine.
Which is a 5-year-old Ben Nevis.
5-year-old Ben
Which
Nevis.
is really, really cool. Again, age doesn't fucking matter,
in
you know.
STR.
It's great to see that sort of thing. And then I have to say, the other one that you bought in the Vina de Color, that look, you've tempted me a little bit with that.
Yeah, I can't get that one either.
No, look, it's the signed bottle. I would be exactly the same, and I appreciate you bringing it to show us. It looks incredible, Seb. It looks really, really beautiful.
14. Yeah.
Is it just bourbon? Is it?
Yeah.
It's interesting. We'll try that. Those two can't try. I mean, it'd be rude not to open the 97 Bowmore, wouldn't it?
Love a 97 Bowmore.
But I mean,
Are you happy with that, Seb?
Up to you,
yeah,
mate.
for sure.
I mean, it would be.
Well, it would be rude not to, but you okay to? You kind of put him on the fucking spot there, mate.
Yeah, for sure.
That one, isn't it? Yeah. Cool. Lovely.
Yeah, go for it.
So, look, how long have
me.
you? If you don't mind,
Yeah.
How long have you? What's the story behind this?
So that was a parcel of Bowmore, which we acquired, and some of it was lower in strength. Lower in volume in some casks. So
Gonna rinse my glass out.
kept various bits, and then again, part of the cut the leftovers loose is the fact that it is what is left. I don't know how many bottles there are. I can't remember. It was some low number.
Where are we here? 40.
Yeah, so there's only 40.
Hence the leftovers.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and the cool little eaten apple on the front.
So are these part of your sort of 4 releases a year, or is this a separate?
So this is separate. So anything that we've got extra of that we think we can just bottle so that people can try it, we will bottle it under that, basically. So if we've got some bits,
Thank you, sir.
yeah, we'll kind of go down that route. And again, I love Bowmore. As you know, it's not impossible to get at a price that makes any sense anymore, and so I can't be bothered half the time. When I get offers of this stuff, it just makes no sense. So, but buying this, we got it at a good price, which allowed us to kind of put it out. I think it's 400 or 450 or something like that.
50. Okay, yeah.
So it just gives us the, there's only 40 bottles, and it goes on the shelf in the shop, and people will buy it and try it. It's like 20 something quid a dram or something like that.
So is all of your releases you can buy by the dram in the bar? Yeah?
Absolutely, yeah.
Cool.
Cool. Yeah. So, and obviously the ones that sell out, we just don't have any of. So, for example, the Ben Nevis, there just isn't any more of. The Tamdu, that's the last bottle, so that will be opening and that'll be going back into the bar.
Right.
We found that randomly in one of the lockups, so it gave us the opportunity to stick it back on the shelf, which is great. So, we do keep some back for. We'll do kind of maybe some tastings and things like this in the future. So we'll keep a few bottles back for that, but everything else just goes and sells. So, it's a nice liquid if you're into Bowmore.
I love a good Bowmore, and this is a very good Bowmore.
Yeah,
this is delicious. You've got that real wonderful kind of salinity on it.
Yep.
And then there's quite a rich fruit. I can't put my finger on it.
Again, I can't profess to have made any adjustments on this or do anything. This was literally just I think it was a hoggy that it was clearly had a leak or something like this within it. I didn't make any changes. It was just low in terms of how much liquid was in there. I was like, right, you know what? I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I'm not going to stick it into a blend, so let's just bottle it up. I didn't even try it before it went into bottle because I for that particular liquid didn't care. Came out and other people can experience it in the same way I did. Crack it open, try it for the first time and go, okay, right, actually that's all right. Or it could have been a complete disaster, but
well, I guess
it is what it is.
I think you're okay, don't worry.
You wouldn't want to showcase it any other way than how it came off the steel and into its first barrel.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's lovely. The fruit, I'm trying to pick out this. It's like I don't know if it's like a melon or something.
Okay, that's interesting that you're going that way.
Like
I'm getting hints of passion fruit. I've put my finger on an element of it towards the back end. There's still a fruit in the middle that I'm not getting.
Melon, it's fruity.
Melon maybe. Yeah, melon maybe. There's like just soft passion fruit at the back end. Again, salinity of it, the really wonderful salt at the front. Mm-hmm. And then just kind of, again, I think what Bowmore does so well, particularly in this sort of an expression, is just this wonderful soft smoke that kind of carries the whole thing. It's just like the undertone of it.
Very gentle, yeah.
It's not overpowering. It's not that Ardbeg where it's like, bosh, here you go, here's a load of funk and, weirdness, which is wonderful in its own right. But this is like very... it's a great way for people to get involved in Isla. You know, people always talk about Kalila being, but more is great. I just think we've talked about this before. We struggle a little bit with some of the Bowmore OBs, the core rate, the younger stuff. Struggle. Okay, Stevie out and out fucking hates it. It doesn't do the brand right. No. It's such good liquid. Yeah. And they've got some good cask selection there. It doesn't do it justice. I don't feel like they're doing themselves any favours. And, you know, we've had some people jump in the comments and a lot of Scottish people say, you haven't a fucking clue what you're talking about, you English bastards, like digging on the Bowmore 12 or whatever. And look, if you like it, you like it. That's absolutely fine. As we've discussed already, whiskey is very personal and everyone's got a different palate and everyone will be reminded of something different, as we've seen there from my weird tasting notes. Fucking
your wet blazers.
It's so, I love that. That's really fucking cool. But yeah, this is Bowmore at its finest. It's refined, it's complex, it's luxurious. It's got so many different things going on and they're all working in really nice conjunction with one another.
And no washing powder notes.
You know, no apple bobbing water as you sort of,
well, that's their cool range.
Yeah. But this is it. It's not, you know, it's not thin. It's not, sorry, where's the strength on this, did you say? I know the cask has leaked a bit.
49.5.
Okay, so the strength has stayed okay, even though the liquid is, you know, evaporated somewhat.
Yeah, I think a lot of distilleries don't do themselves favours by it, like when you try a single cask of a product and then you try their OB pulled down strength mass market product, there is a gulf that is so big. And I think that detachment doesn't make any sense because you're creating a spirit, like Bowmore creates a spirit that is incredible, and yet it has its, you know, regular stuff on a shelf which you can buy at reasonable prices, right? So you know, if we were trying to buy 10-year-old Bowmore in cask, it would be an insane number, right? Yeah. But 10-year-old Bowmore on a shelf, what is that, 50?
But looking at 5-year-old Bowmore in cask recently, and it was like, fuck, how am I going to make that work? Like,
it doesn't make any sense, right? So it, like, looking at those sort of levels, so they just haven't worked it out. The problem is that for stuff that sort of sits at this higher end, they then go to town and create these insane elaborate bottles that suddenly put it out of the reach for any normal human being, right? So I don't even sure. Was it Aston Martin?
Let's get a key involved to make a whole fucking bespoke box.
But I don't even know how much they are. That's like $4,000.
Some of them are crazy, and in fairness, some of them aren't that good. I think it was at the 22 we tried was really fucking good. Okay, but then I tried another one of them. And I'm not even going to try and think of what it is because I don't want to slag off Bowmore too much. It's a great brand, but it
just wasn't right. Yeah.
Wasn't right at all.
No, but you're right. There is that huge disconnect between their core range, which is really supposed to get people into the brand and into the liquid.
And that's the problem. You know? Is I know you have, and you probably have as well. To be honest, we've been spoiled. Because we get access to these,
I know,
you know, single cask, higher age or higher ABVs or just raw, uncut, but that sort of. But the reason I say that is, no, it shouldn't matter. And they should be able to utilize that liquid. But what I'm saying is, you know, like I say, people who come on and they see us chatting and we're digging on this and, Bowmore 12 is one of my favorites. It's like, well, that's great. But if you like the Bowmore 12 as it stands as an OB, fuck me, you should get involved. You should go down to Cut Your Wolf Loose and you should try some of this, because all of a sudden what you like in the Bowmore 12 is just going to be turned up to 11. It's just going to be unpacked and you know, it's this wonderful complexity. Like I say, there's so much going on in this dram and they just water that away. It's just washed away into the, it's such a shame for me. It really disappoints me, particularly with Bowmore, because I love it. It's one of my favorite brands. Any single cask I've got my hands on, it's phenomenal. Really good juice, and I don't think that they do themselves any favors.
Yeah, they don't.
I just don't think it takes water that well, or that much. You know, down to the 40%. As we said before, with
everyone's been told that is the system of
making money.
Making money.
Yeah, well, I was going to say it's capitalism is what it is.
It has nothing to do with, you know, if the distilleries or if the big, you know, giants turned around and thought, actually, if 50 was the mark, right, they'd probably lobby to get duty dropped so that they could still sell the same number of bottles.
Yep.
And now 50 is the mark that it sits at, and 50 is where it sits best. I just find it really odd that 40 was the number that suddenly everybody is picking.
Well, it's because it's the lowest legal requirement, right? It is, and that's the thing. It's purely capitalism. This is why when you see things bottled, even at 43, but we were talking Glenallachie recently, 46. Then you've got Distell, which is 46.3, isn't it? And that gives them that point of variation because obviously the measurements can be slightly off, and so they want to make sure that there is no discoloration, that the spirit is stable. It gives it that much more room to breathe, to really show off its
But if it's intended at the high strength, like they're making the spirit, that's the spirit. You've made it. And you're then putting it into wood to then create the flavour. And then what? You decide you want to mutilate it as soon as you take it out the wood to like make something else entirely.
Yeah.
Separate category. Put that and make a separate category for mutilated spirit, and then have a category which is the spirit as it came off the still, and then create, that is what it is. And so you're right. If you come into the bar, you can go to a number of different places, but you come into the shop and the bar and you can try, your mind will be expanded just because there's such a huge gulf. And I just I think, but this is part of the frustration because you want to try and get access to Bowmore as a distillery to bottle and actually tell people around to showcase it, and then when someone offers the spirit in bulk and you kind of look at the price and you're thinking, well, what kind of mad world are we suddenly living in when you've got to spend millions and millions of pounds on spirit? When the reality is that, you've suddenly got a retailer. I mean, this is 450 or 400, 450, for a bottle of 27-year-old. I dread to think if they did an OB bottling of 27, you'd be like 2, 3, 4 grand. I don't know, maybe more than that. But it doesn't make any sense. Even at 450, that's still kind of crazy if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, that it's a bottle of liquid that sits at those numbers. And you're thinking, right, well, and I understand that it's had 27 years of, resting and someone's had to manage that and, before my time, do all of those sorts of things. But yeah, it's just, there is that frustration. And I think it's because we're told that that's how it should be that I kind of don't like doing it. And then you go and find other routes to kind of go, well, actually, this is how it is. So why are they kind of telling me that that's how it is? Yeah. And again, it is, as you say, it's purely down to the fact that they can get more out of it. Which is a shame because, for the small percentage of people that do like the spirit as an intro, let's say Bowmore as an intro into those areas, and there will be people that like it, they just won't go beyond that maybe and go, okay, well, maybe I want to try something as it stands. Maybe there's the education that's not behind it.
Yeah.
Equally, it's hard to go back as well once you've had something like this or,
Yeah, that's what so many people say. They watch our channel and all of a sudden their habit becomes more expensive because they were indulging in just a standard core range OB and then they get involved in higher strength stuff. They end up spending more money. And this is it. It's like I would rather spend that bit more money on something that I truly enjoy and have it less often.
And the quality.
Exactly that. Yeah. The quality shines through, And ultimately, this is it, It's not cheap, but it's not cheap for us to do it, Yeah. I've got some 80s but more available at the moment if you want it. It'll cost you both your kidneys, but, you can get it, And this is it. I get offered this sort of stuff, same as you. And you kind of think, fuck, what am I supposed to do with that? How am I supposed to get it in the bottle at a price that people will even consider looking at it? And then on the back of, all right, we're finally taking a punt, even if it's by the dram, they get excited enough that you end up, selling out. It's nigh on impossible, which is such a shame because I think that this sort of an expression is what does Bowmore all its favors, Don't get me wrong, I've tried some great OBs. I don't want to take away from the OBs. There are some good ones out there, but the entry level, the lower end, I think anything sub 18, it's disappointing. It's not Bowmore as I know Bowmore. It's not Bowmore as I've enjoyed it. It's a very watered down version of it if you can find the characteristics that you're looking for at all. Mm-hmm. And this is it. I think, like I say, if you enjoy that sort of thing, good for you. It's not to take away from it. Everyone is an individual and we all have different palates. But if you enjoy that, get down to a bar like Cut Your Wolf Loose, indulge in some of these uncut and unfiltered expressions, you know, and get to learn what goes into them and how they're made and how they kind of, like you say, shine through as they are without being what did you say? Sorry, mutilated. That's such a good. It is. It's disgusting.
It's kind of like I don't know. Like if I take, I don't know, if you're growing, I don't know, tomatoes, right? And you've got like a particular variety that you got in your backyard that tastes delicious off the vine, amazing, great. You want to eat it like that. You don't then take it, stamp on the floor, mix it in with a bit of something else, right? Yeah. Or you don't then take it, water it down with a bunch of stuff to suddenly make the tomato taste.
Well, there's more tomato now. There's more tomato, Seb. But we can sell it for more because there's more of it.
I know. You just don't do that. Like I don't. The logic doesn't compute with me.
It
and
doesn't.
like from that perspective, I can't. You know, enjoy it. I'd love to. You know, it'd be really interesting to actually speak to some of these bigger brands and kind of maybe have a conversation with them about actually how they should be doing stuff. But I can just imagine, you know, they don't want to have a conversation with me.
No.
They want to have a conversation with, you know, 24 suits around a table.
Well, that's exactly it.
Who are looking at stats, statistics.
They're not looking at the enjoyment of it. They're not looking at the people who are
So,
passionate about it, who are behind bars, who are getting it in their glass, who are excited to share. They're looking at...
But are we a minority?
I think, no, we're a growing minority. The cult has become less cult and is becoming more mainstream because more people are getting involved in whiskey, in spirits. And as they do, and I think the younger generation, again, even the generation below me, is kind of like, now I'm willing to spend
they want better
£100 on a bottle once a month as opposed to £50 twice a month.
And they've got less time to always be doing something. So when they do have that precious moment, they want to have it.
It wants to be really special. It wants to be different. It wants to be exciting, exclusive, you know. And I think that this is it. I think that the distilleries will start realizing that they need to work alongside people like yourself, alongside brands like Cut Your Wolf Loose, in order to make sure that their brands survive. Because ultimately, this is it. They're marketing to a dying breed and they're looking at, you know, numbers. Just raw dollars and cents as opposed to this is what is best for our brand. There are a few out there, you know, as I said, we did the Glenallachie recently and, you know, their kind of entry level is that cask strength batch 10-year-old, which is fucking hell. Delicious, I mean, it's so good. Yeah. And it just, again, we're talking about all of these high strength whiskies. Those are kind of circa 60% whiskies that just tease and tantalize your taste buds and really sit so well.
You say the boardroom of suits, you know.
That's an independent.
You know, it's
run by a passionate team.
Yeah,
this is it. Yeah,
and that's why
that's working.
Setup is like that.
Yeah. It worked for him at Glenglassaugh. Obviously, it's working where he is now. So yeah. So again, those people, you know, you can look at and go, great, they're actually making the change and they're actually doing things that are leaning towards how the consumer wants to be. And that's probably based on his years of experience, you know, consuming the product, speaking to people and doing all the things that he's done. And, you know, some of the bigger brands just don't do that.
Yeah.
And they don't speak to anybody. No. It's like, as I say, they are
decisions all made in the office as opposed to on the ground, in the distilleries, in the warehouses, tasting the liquid and going, this is fucking good.
So do some of the new distilleries, dare I say it, because they're...
Oh, definitely. They're just trying to take advantage of the boom. You mean, you mentioned Daffmill earlier, and I definitely appreciate your sort of, you know, your reluctance there and your frustrations. I can definitely get that. What I like about Daffmill is they didn't just go, okay, we're a new distillery, here's 3-year-old and 1 day liquid, boom, let's take advantage. It was, let's actually wait. This is a proper farm to bottle, you know, we're going to wait till it hits 12, we're going to do it right.
I mean, I love their
and this is it, the liquid.
It's amazing.
I completely understand your frustrations. No, definitely. But this is it. You get these young distilleries who, it's 3 years old and it's just go. And it's over £100 a bottle. And I think it was Will who was on, you know, and again, guys, check out the description below. There's a great episode at Clacks. We interviewed 4 great brands, I think 3 great brands. We only managed to fit 3 of them in, absolutely. Yep. And that's because Will and the others gave us so much great insight. And as he said, you know, it's kind of like, if you're bottling 3-year-old liquid at £100+ quid, what happens when it hits 10? Is it going to be 300 quid?
Mm-hmm.
Because fuck me, you don't have a market then. You don't have a sustainable business model. And again, you know, it goes on to what's happening in the secondary market at the moment. I think a lot of people are getting excited. Oh, well, this bottle did this in auction and people are investing at these casks at this price, so we can set up a distillery and we could do this. No. This is a moment in time and it's about to fall flat on its fucking face. And it's going to be people and brands like yours who are in bars, who are getting liquid in glass, like we said earlier, who sustain the industry. And I think that, yeah, a lot of distilleries and brands will be sorely surprised. You know, they've entered the space on a very naive basis, you know, not really understanding what they're getting involved with. You know, yes, there's time and effort and a lot more that goes into whiskey than goes into a gin, for example. But it doesn't mean that you could be charging 10 times the price. You know, it's got to be reasonable. It's got to be accessible.
Yeah.
So it's difficult
I guess
to watch.
if their plan is to make a spirit that they can sustain and just do regularly, then it just leads into something like that. But yeah, if it hits to suddenly, you know, 10 and they do a 10-year-old, is that then like some sort of super special? Well, anyway, who knows where we are in 10 years, right? We could be.
For sure.
It'll be interesting to see. It will be very interesting to see. I think there's a lot going on, a lot about to happen.
I hate to wrap it up, and I'm sure we could sit here all day. I appreciate you've got to get off and you've got a car parking slot as well. I've only got 8 minutes on that camera.
Oh, we need to wrap it up.
Unfortunately, it's time to wrap up.
Okay.
I could sit here and...
I could have done another one, mate.
Yeah, I know. Persuading you to open more bottles, but...
No, you've been really generous, and it's been great to sort of sit down and try. Again, such a vast array of different... you know, flavors and liquids, and it's great to talk to you, Seb. I think everyone at home will really appreciate understanding what goes into being an independent bottler, to owning a bar, to driving the industry forward in the way that you have. So thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate you inviting me on.
Wrap up.
We do a wrap up. We do buys, don't buys, oosh if we really like it, and bin it, which I don't think you're in risk of, so we're okay there. I'm not going to ask you for your opinion because you're the brand owner. You've obviously bought and bottled these different pieces.
I'll just
you're
say buy every time. It's like
exactly.
buy.
Well, I'm going to come to you. I'm going to ask you what your favorite on the shelf is, and then I'm also going to ask you what you're most excited about, what's upcoming. So have a little think about that. I'll come to you in a moment. Stevie, we started with the blended malt.
Yes. Just looking at my notes here because I've been writing them down.
Cool, yeah. Cool. So the blended malt, Seb, remind us the strength, the age of that.
6 years. Oldest in there is 16 years.
Yep.
Youngest 6, and it is 51.6.
And you said about £50?
50 quid.
50 quid for a bottle of blended malt from Cut Your Wolf Loose. It was that really wonderful ginger snap biscuits for me. It was cool. It was lovely.
Yeah,
Stevie, £50.
You intercepted me there. No, it's a strong buy. As you say, Seb, I think blended whiskey kind of gets pushed to the wayside, and you know, single malt is the thing to buy. But no, like there are some great blends that have been better than some single malts I've had. You know, the fact that it's got some old stock in there as well, and that you denote that, I think is great. I love that. Yeah. As you say, that gingery note, that sort of spicy note, it kind of, I left it in the glass for a while and it got kind of a little bit syrupy as well. The sweetness came on more as I guess probably the room temperature warmed up. But yeah, no, for 50 odd quid, it's fucking great buy.
Very strong buy. Yeah, no, look, I completely agree. Really, really strong buy. And kind of going back on the back of what you've just said, I think that the new age of drinker is becoming a little bit more open. You know, I think there's a lot of sort of older geezers who are like, has to be single malt, has to be 10 years up. Fuck off. You don't know what you're talking about. And people now are coming in and they're more willing to try because they get to try stuff like this and they get excited about it. It's wonderful to hear what's gone into it. I definitely taste the Glenglassaugh spirit. The Kalida and the Highland Park is really interesting. There was an element of something going on there, but what you've created is really, really beautiful, and I love listening to how you've created it, kind of a slow marrying of liquids. That in and of itself would get me excited listening to you behind the bar. So really, really cool. Love that. At 50 quid, fuck it, that's stupid. Yes, very, very strong buy at £50. What a great start. We then moved on to the Tomatin, or the kind of Kubokin-ish Tomatin. Remind us, you say £60 on that one?
Yeah, just under.
Just under £60, so give or take 60 quid. And it was 7 years old, wasn't it?
Yep.
7-year-old Tomatin, and again, really, really light colour. Some people might be put off by that in the bottle. It interested me straight away, the colour of it. Again, really cool, funky label. I love what the labels give. Each one of these a different vibe, but the label for this one in particular really kind of represents the flavour in it to me, which is great. Stevie.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest here. I was a bit naive when I saw it released online, and I thought, oh, that is a bit light. However, you get it in the glass, you taste it, boom. You know, it really surprised me. And that just goes to show you that colour is not everything, you know. Really cool artwork. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, it's a buy for me. It's a great price. And it's, again, something that I'd love to own. People to come around that's into whiskey, judge the colour and go, try it. And then go, oh, actually, fucking hell. You know, it changes your perspective and mind on not being judgmental before you taste it, right? So
Definitely.
Yeah.
For all the reasons that you have just said, I'm giving this one
Oh, wow.
60 quid, mate. Yeah, look, all right, so it's 7 years old, but it's really fucking well balanced.
Yes.
And there's so much going on there. As I was sort of saying, there was just more and more that was coming out of it.
Yep.
It's not what I expect from a Tomatin. It was everything and more. It was like, you know, it was really, really interesting. And I think that from a point of conversation, from a point of difference, from a point of excitement, 60 quid, fuck off, get it in my glass twice. It's really delicious. We moved on from there to the Aberfeldy?
Yes.
Aberfeldy. 7-year-old Aberfeldy, refill, hogshead. How much?
I think this one's 70.
£70?
75
Cool.
pounds.
70, £75?
70 quid. Again, a strong buy. I loved it. Creamy, pears. It was so well integrated for me.
Right.
You know, it was a dram that I could just keep going back to all evening, you know. I loved it. Well done, Seb. That's fucking good drop of liquid, that.
Good juice.
Yeah, it's good juice.
I like it. It was probably the one that I'm least excited about on the day, not to take away from it. I really like all of them, so it's kind of like a high bar to set. I think that I expected something different from an Aberfeldy, so I was really, really sort of expecting one thing. I got something different. That's kind of the beauty of what you get from independent bottlings. So
Yeah, 75 pounds.
£75, cool. Yeah. I would buy it. I would still definitely buy it. It's a beautiful spirit. It's a point of interest, and it's different to Aberfeldies that I have tried. I think, again, the artwork of this is my favorite artwork of the day. It's really, really different. It's really, really cool. I'm hoping that you've got a few prints there. So that we can, I can grab one of them. But yeah, look, as an Aberfeldy 7-year-old, it's not liquid that you can get your hands on easily. And for £75, I would still definitely buy it. It's something that's different. And again, we talked earlier about doing flights of Kalila, or if I were to do a flight of Aberfeldy, I would want this in it because it's different for me. You know,
interestingly, distilleries won't do that.
Right.
So they won't pitch indie versus own brand.
Of course.
Which is frustrating because it's. I think it's a great talking point for people, but I think it's the fact that they realise that I think a lot of independent bottlers and bottlings of these products would fare better than their own product, which is kind of a danger. Yeah. We tried with Distill, Diageo, and various others, and they just won't.
No, yeah. So. It's a shame. It is a shame. But c'est la vie. What can you do? £75, still a very strong buy. We moved from there to the
Ardbeg. Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Yep.
Ardbeg, which you're saying about £200?
The Ardbeg, yeah, it's 200. Yeah.
14-year-old Ardbeg, 63.3, 63 point something.
63.8.
63.8. I mean, that sat in the glass extremely well. Stevie, £200 for a 14-year-old independently bottled Ardbeg.
Look, £200 is a lot of money to spend on a bottle of whiskey, right? Let's be honest. And we've probably all spent more than that before. But it really blew me away. If I was to... Look, we drop on the committee releases 120, 130, sometimes £150 on non-age statements. Age is not everything, of course. And they're good. Sometimes they're not so good. an extra 50, 60, 70 quid more to get an IB single cask of this fucking tasty, yeah, it's a fucking oosh from me, mate.
Well, give it some then.
Oosh.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
I'm definitely want a bottle of that in my collection. And when the time comes, if there's any left in the near future, I'm getting one because it's great. It's that's what I want from Ardbeg.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's cool. So yeah.
I couldn't agree more. And I think what really does this for me, aside from the incredible flavour, the depth that is there, like you say, the fact that it does shine through above and beyond, I think every committee release that I can remember recently anyway, is I know what you've gone through to get your hands on this. And I know that it's not easy putting this sort of thing out.
Yeah,
At
difficult.
an accessible price.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. I think a lot of people at home are going, oh, Jake and Stevie, £200 is a lot of money, guys. And it is a lot of money. But it's Ardbeg. It's a premium brand. It seldom comes onto the secondary cask market. So to be able to get it, bottle it at that whopping cask strength, which really works in like just incredibly well.
Even doing it as a bottle split, you know?
It's so worth it. Exactly that. Or if not, get down to the bar, try a dram, enjoy it, and at least you've tried it. But for me, I'm getting one, definitely, and it's my favourite of the day.
Yes.
For £200. It's a big fat oosh.
There we go.
Love it, man. Really, really delicious.
There we go.
I'm going to steal a little bit more for where you go. Okay, cool. We moved on from there to the Bowmore. Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bowmore,
Fuck,
26, 27-year-old Bowmore?
27.
27-year-old Bowmore.
£400, did you say?
400, 450?
450.
450.
Okay.
450, 27-year-old Bowmore. ABV, 49 odd percent, but really interesting how it has obviously evaporated quite a lot. For me, I find, I've talked about this before, guys, but I think that it's really...
26-year-old, sorry.
26-year-old. 26-year-old Bowmore. I think it's really interesting. Casks sometimes will either drop alcohol a huge amount or will drop liquid a huge amount. It's kind of like a point, like an oddity. It's like, what the fuck? Like, kind of like what you said, like, what the fuck has happened here? This cask is obviously leaking. And whilst obviously it's very disappointing from a bottler's point of view, and you go, oh, I don't have as much liquid, or it's not as strong as I wanted it to be, it often really does the flavour a lot. It adds something. You try 5 of them and one of them's low ABV or low RLA, and this one's just shining in comparison. And I think that that's kind of what's happened here. It's a really wonderful expression. But coming to you, 26-year-old Bowmore, £450 per bottle. Where are you?
Unfortunately, it's a don't buy.
Okay.
More so from price point. The liquid's great, but again, it's 450 quid, right? It is up there. And I'm not the biggest Bowmore fan.
Okay.
So I'd rather get 2 of the Ardbegs or 8 of the 6-year-old blends instead. But that's not a don't buy on the flavour or the liquid or anything like that. It's literally just budget for me personally.
Yeah. No,
and
absolutely.
That's all it is.
450
but I
quid for
definitely would
bottles,
go
not
into the
cheap.
bar and try a dram,
Yeah.
because I say, when can you really at
For
that
sure.
price? So
I definitely hear you. I think for me, this is the sort of thing that I would definitely want to go along and try, because I know that you can go along and try it in the bar. So
Yep.
I wouldn't just automatically go, oh, I'll buy that because it's going to be amazing. Sometimes you get a bit more and it's not amazing, as we kind of discussed, especially older liquids like this, sometimes they don't always slap. 450 quid is a lot of money. I would buy it. It's not like oh my God, I'm getting super excited because of the price. I would look for somebody like yourself or like Ian where I can do a bit of a bottle split. But now that I've tried it, it's really delicious. I think it's a buy. I think it's well worth trying. And again, appreciate that this is a lot of money to spend on whiskey, particularly if you're new to whiskey. But this is the beautiful thing about Cut Your Wolf Loose is it's created around this environment where you go into the bar, you try what you like,
Absolutely.
you get it in your glass, and then you can go from there. And at the end of the day, you've got, 40-odd bottles? So it's not going to really fucking stick around long anyway. No. So, this is the thing. I
don't know how many is left, to be fair. But
and if you're a true Bowmore fanatic, this is a great example
really
of how
good
the liquid can be completely untouched at this age, that hasn't gone a bit fucking, soapy as some do. So, yeah, it's well worth it on that front. So
definitely.
Seb, thank you so much for bringing so many bottles and cracking... what
That's
we
right,
wanted
nice.
here. Really appreciate it, man.
Cool chat.
Yeah, definitely.
Really, really interesting. Listen, guys, thank you for joining us as always on Uncut and Unfiltered. If
Yeah,
you
Seb what his favourite child is.
Well done. Sorry, I was about to give you a plug.
before
So before
that-
I give you the plug,
Well, before that,
okay.
I just want to ask, what's coming up? What can people get excited about? Is there anything cool happening with the bar? What releases can we look forward to? What are you working on in the background? Any side projects?
So we've got a lot of bottlings coming up for Artful Dodger, which is great.
Yeah, Will said you've got like 30 odd casks that are ready to go and you're having some dry goods problems.
Yeah, with the corks, oddly, because
Okay.
we've got. I don't know if anyone's seen. I should have bought a bottle, but the corks themselves, we got them specifically designed for the bottle, so they sit in the bottle and then they can sit in the case. The issue with them is that the companies that created those types of corks again can't do the same type of cork again. So it's like, this is great. So we're making adjustments on that. It won't affect obviously any of the liquid. So we just thought, you know what, we'll get. I think we're actually going to sort of use some cork like this.
Okay.
Which is just far more accessible, which is a shame, but that's just the nature of the industry, actually, oddly, is the fact that if you kind of go and try. Anyway, so yeah, we got a lot of those, and that's mental, those.
Any teasers there? Or?
No, absolutely none.
Nope.
And we don't know whether to do 5, then and 5 and 5 sort of every 3 months, or just go, screw it. Here's 25, 30, and this is what we're about.
Yep.
For sure.
Because I think that might be have more of an impact. So there's that. We've got some amazing liquid going into bottles for Cut Your Wolf Loose as well.
Okay.
And some amazing artists. So over the course of this year, and then we've got some cool events that we've got coming up for Cut Your Wolf Loose. So as I say, bar takeovers. We've got more tastings occurring there. We may have some other pretty cool things coming up as we get towards the end of the year, towards Christmas and New Year as well. So yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot happening.
Cool.
Fair play. So what is your favourite then? Sorry, you're absolutely right, Stevie. I was trying to wrap up because you were saying we need to...
No, I know, but also...
Okay, yeah,
don't wanna
no,
miss the
absolutely.
moment.
So what is your favourite out of these bottles and why?
People always ask me this, and it's not, I don't have a favourite. And the reason I don't is because every single day I'm in a slightly different mood. And depending on the mood that I'm in, that affects my taste and how and what I would like to taste.
That's exactly what Billy Walker said. There's a whiskey for every moment.
Yeah.
So true.
It really is. Yeah. I can't say, I like this. I like them all because of their intricacies and differences. And that's what makes it quite fun to do. If I said, I like that, then I think probably it would affect, my thought process when I come to bottle anything, because I'll just be thinking of that. If I have if I like, we were talking about the Kalila earlier, that we did for Artful Dodger, it's incredible. I have that as a marker for me on that particular flavour.
Yep.
So yeah, I enjoy all of them for all of the different.
If you had to pick one today, then what mood are you in today? What are you most excited about? Obviously,
I'd
you haven't been able to dram along with us
I'd
today.
probably go with the blend.
The blend?
Fair. Yeah, because it's, there's a bit of meatiness to that. It's quite buttery as well because of the spirits that's gone in there, and then there's a bit of smoke that runs off the end of it, and it's also not right up there with the kind of high strength stuff. I just quite like the flavour that it combines. Yeah,
I've still got some of my glass here, and I left it here for a reason, because obviously you've travelled here today, so they've been in the vehicle, and it's fucking lovely. There's a lot of depth there, you know, and that's what you wanted to create.
Yeah.
So completely agree.
Yeah, so probably that today. Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Sweet as a nut. Well, Seb, thank you so much for joining
Cheers
us.
for having
And
us.
Thank you all at home for joining us again for another episode of Uncut and Unfiltered. As we've highlighted here today, there are so many wonderful whiskies that you can try if you want to buy a bottle. But at the end of the day, why don't you cut your wolf loose, get down to the bar in Brighton. You can meet Seb, you can meet his team, you can get involved in all of these whiskies at very accessible dram prices. And then from there, you can decide what bottles you're going to take home, what artwork you're going to take home. And if you're like Stevie and I, you probably need to break out the piggy bank and make sure that you've got enough to get all of the lovely expressions that you want to have. But with that being said, find the descriptions in the link below. While Seb hasn't given away too much, there were a couple of teasers that will dropped in our previous episode at Clacks. So you can watch that episode now. But it's been a real pleasure to sit down and talk with you. All things Cut Your Wolf.
Appreciate
Seb.
having me, guys.
man. No, it's been really
quality.
Thank you very much. We will see you next time, guys. Slán se bheith.